The Flash television show is exploring the concept of the other forces, things other than the Speed Force for the Flash comic book series. But where did that start? This is the Comicstorian channel where we take some of your favorite trade paperbacks and single issues and we break them down into digestible bites to help you understand. Then we read them dramatically back to you. All alterations to the panels, text, and images are to prevent copyright problems, and all art is owned by its respective companies. Now, for longtime viewers of the channel, we're going to be doing something a little bit different, and for new viewers of the channel, this is probably what you're looking for if you're looking for the answers as to what is going on in the Flash TV show. So basically what we do is a full story series where we take all of the storylines that pertain to the topic we're talking about. And normally that is like a 100-issue storyline or something condensed down into this full story. But today what we're going to do is bring you the very specific issues that tells you the storylines about the Speed Force, the Still Force, the Sage Force, and the Strength Force. If you're wondering why those are important, currently in the TV show, they are exploring those concepts. So if you're wondering what they did in the comic book, today we're going to cover that. Now, we have already covered all of these stories in the past, but this is going to be jumping around to just the key moments that are important to these stories that we're talking about. So let's kick it off with the Flash War, because within the Flash War, we discovered that they exist. We're then going to explore the Strength Force and the Sage Force and what exactly they are and who exactly controls them. But let's go ahead and start with the Flash War that happened during Flash Rebirth around issue 50 or so. As the sun rises over Central City, Wally walks through the city to an old flower shop that he used to buy flowers from. He asks the old man working there if he's open, and the man tells him to look around. Does he look like he's open? It's going to be a long time before they'll be open for business, and Wally says he's not so sure. This is Central City, after all. And just a few seconds later, Barry, Avery, and Wallace all run by fixing and putting everything back into place across the city. The old man looks at his newly repaired shop and he says, "Well, I'll be. Looks like I am open. How about some tulips?" Flash himself helped save these. Not everyone is enjoying the new city, though, and there's one person in particular. Her name is Mina, and she's now locked away in Iron Heights. Mina takes a seat in the meeting room and she tells Barry that she knows why he's here. She doesn't need him to try and save her. The power dampening collar is doing a good job of that already. It's keeping the negative Speed Force from ripping her apart. She did come here willingly. And Barry says that they can talk to the courts. They can explain that Grodd was controlling her, and Mina stops him, telling him that it's not entirely true. Not all of those feelings were from Grodd. She doesn't want him to die or anything. But the truth still stands. The Speed Force is dangerous for him, for her, for the entire world. She really doesn't think that he's the guy for the job. Barry gets up and he tells her maybe she's right, but failing her will always remind him of how important his role is. These powers are a blessing and a curse. I have to help people keep on the straight path. Friends and family who will be there for me and you. As he opens the door, Wallace and Avery run in hugging Mina. And Mina tells them that she's so sorry for what she's done. Meanwhile, Godspeed stops for a moment when he hears a voice. The voice tells him that he is a man reborn in the storm, and yet he hoped to perish in one. However, you were saved. All because you seek redemption. Godspeed pulls his mask down, asking, "Who's there?" And the voice continues telling him, "We can help you solve your brother's murder, help you correct your mistakes, help you become a hero, Godspeed." And Godspeed tells him, "I'm listening." But while everything begins to settle down in the city, Barry heads back to his old office at the police station to find Iris already there. He asks how she knew that he would be here, and Iris says that he's the Flash, not Batman. He stomps around when he stress paces. She can hear him through the wall. Barry sighs and says that he never got to finish their conversation before the storm happened. Before Grodd, I thought the only thing that made me special were my powers. And I thought that if you knew who I was worried that you would see Barry Allen as nothing. Iris sighs, telling him to come here, and then touches the ring, letting out the Flash costume, telling him to tell her all about the Flash. That's what she asked at his mother's grave. She wants to know everything about his life as the Flash. He kept him from her for so long. She needs to know what his life is like. She picks up the costume and looks at the earpieces and tells him, right before time stopped, he was telling her about these. What kind of music does the Flash listen to? Barry tells her to wait a second, and as Iris spins the dial, there's a click, and a speech from Neil deGrasse Tyson begins to play about walking around the universe. Iris asks him, "You listen to audiobooks by Neil deGrasse Tyson? You're such a nerd." And then she kisses him. As Iris leans back, she tells Barry that she wasn't just asking him to talk about the Flash for her, but for him as well. Barry Allen doesn't see himself as a hero. He empathizes with people and sees what's special in everyone, and she's worried that that wasn't real. All she wanted to know is that even with him being the Flash, The Barry Allen part was still real, right? She fell in love with Barry and not the Flash. Barry smiles and tells her that she's right. He's not sure why he ever tried to keep anything from her, which is why he's going to tell her everything for real this time. He motions towards the door and through it. Wally West walks in holding a bouquet of tulips. Iris says, wait, he's the one who's been sending her flowers every week? And Barry begins to explain who he is. But Iris says that she already knows. He's the other Flash. His hair is a dead giveaway. He saved her from Grodd and left before she could thank him. Wally stumbles over his words for a moment, and then he hands the bouquet stating, I can't do this again. I'm sorry. As Wally turns away, Iris stops him and turns him around and tells him, don't run. Wally. Wally asks, You remember me? And Iris hugs him, telling him, it's okay. Everything's gonna be okay now. You look just like Rudy. God, I have so many questions for you, but first, where's everyone else? Barry asks, who else? And Wally asks, who are you? But before he could finish, he feels a sharp pain in his head. And then he says, it's too much. I remember everything. But over in a time forgotten is a low rumble of thunder as Hunter Zolomon sits in his wheelchair in his cell. He thinks back to when he met Wally and how he helped him rebuild all of the things that he lost in life. However, there was a time when he needed Wally and he never showed up. After that, he became Zoom to try and convince him to go back in time to make things right to the exact second when things started to go bad. But Wally, he rejected his friend. Hunter closes his eyes and he continues to think back. And then he starts to hear loud noises coming from outside his cell. Suddenly there's an explosion and the cell door flies back and a voice says, you once told me that you had an idea, that you could make me better. Is the student ready to become the teacher? Hunter looks and he sees Eobard Thawne, the man obsessed with the original Flash, Barry Allen, the original Reverse Flash. They both have been disappointed by the Flash in the past, and together, maybe they can finally put both Flashes on the road to becoming a better hero. Back in the current times, Barry seeks the aid of the heroes in supernatural arts to try and figure out what happened to Wally. Zatanna uses her magic, while Jean uses his knowledge, and Jessica uses the Green Lantern ring, but even with all of that, they can't figure out what's going on. As Barry and Iris wait outside the lab, they hear Wally shouting, no! Within a second, Barry runs inside asking what's going on. Wally, who's strapped to an examination table, yells, he's done! Get me out of this thing! Cyborg tells him that he's got to chill out and let his dad's tech do the thing. And Wally vibrates through the restraints, telling him, nope, no more tests. Barry says that he can't just vibrate his way out of pain. They're all worried about him. His memories are a mess right now. And Iris then comes in stating, you promised that you would get help. And Wally asks, is this the price I have to pay to have you back in my life? Cyborg says that they don't know the exact cause, but the scans clearly show that his body has gone through some kind of trauma. The speed force inside of him is out of sync. As Wally looks at Cyborg, he begins to change. And as Wally's eyes widen at classic Cyborg, Cyborg asks if he's okay. He looks like he's seen a ghost. Wally steps back shouting, it's always something. Ever since I got these powers, they've been trying to kill me. First, the Speed Force tried to make me fade away. Then I got trapped in the Speed Force, then the heart problem, and now this. If I could get past all of that, I could get past this too. Barry tells him that they're going to get through this together. He might know someone who he can talk to, run a test in, and Wally yells, I don't want any more tests, Barry. Barry tries to explain again, but Iris pulls Wally away, stating, just stop, he's had enough for today. It's time we all took a break. Barry doesn't say anything, then he runs to the place where he might be able to get some answers. The Batcave. As Barry runs past Alfred, who's tidying up the place, he begins to say that it's a pleasure to, but Barry cuts him off asking, where is he? The JL communicator placed Booster Gold with Batman. I tried calling him, but the signal won't connect. I'm in a hurry, I need to talk to him now. And Alfred tells him that he's sorry, but he's going to have to wait. Master Wayne is out. Some business with Miss Kyle, private business. If he would like to leave But before he could finish, Barry lashes out in frustration, punching the computer screen, breaking it into 1,000 pieces. Alfred sighs and he says that he understands after the Poison Ivy incident that he may desire some payback on Master Wayne. But he hardly thinks that. Barry stops him asking, how does he do it? Whenever I think of the danger that Wally or Kid Flash could get into, I just wish that I could turn that part of my brain off. How does Bruce let someone that he cares about run on the rooftops in a place like Gotham? Nightwing, Batgirl, Robin, all of them. How does he not worry? Alfred stops Barry from pacing and he tells him, of course Master Wayne worries. When you're a parent, you're always going to worry. Would you like to sit down and have some tea? Barry says, wait a sec, and he begins to fix the monitor that he broke. Alfred tells him thank you. It's rare that anyone cleans up after themselves around here. But back with Wally, he starts to run all over the places where he could have had some of his victories and defeats, trying to make sense as to what's going on. What is happening to his memories? However, there's one place that he can go to cheer himself up, and that's the Flash Museum. It was the place that he would stop and talk to his hero. Even though the statue of Barry would never talk back to him, it would always inspire Wally. But as Wally looks up at the statue, Barry runs up asking what he's doing here. He's been looking everywhere. Wally smiles and says that he just needed to clear his head for a bit. Whenever he feels lost, he knows where to go. The Flash Museum has always made him feel safe. Barry reaches out to Wally asking, "What are you talking about? There's no Flash Museum. Not yet, at least." Wally begins frantically looking around, stating that he had one. They had a museum! It was amazing. Why can't this be over? Barry tells Wally to talk to him, and Wally says after Magenta and Grodd, he thought he was getting better. Like life was finally getting back on track. He's not even scared anymore, just angry. And Barry kneels down telling him, "I know it's hard, but I'll always be there to remind you not to give up hope. But that isn't what you need right now, so tell me, what do you want to do?" And Wally tells him, "Run. I just want to run." So Barry laughs. "That I can do." Back in the future, Hunter Zolomon watches the infinite loop that is Eobard Thawne dying over and over again. All happening because Eobard didn't listen to him. As rage begins to build up inside of him, Hunter says, "Eobard's right. The Flashes don't deserve my fate. They deserve nothing." Hunter changes into his costume and he punches the screen. And he shouts that if the Flashes refuse to see the road to being a better hero, then I will take them down the road to war. In the garage of Iris West, her and Wallace listen to the radio as she finishes the last bit of repairs to Wallace's dirt bike. The announcer on the radio reports that a tidal wave is coming towards the coast of Bad Henicia, but the residents are being saved by what looks like 2 flashes. Iris tightens the last bolt, asking Wallace if he could turn that off, and as he does, he says maybe he should go. Iris stops him, telling him no. Barry and Wally handle this themselves. Wallace then asks Iris how does she know her way around a bike. She gets on it, telling him that the only way to get around Markovia was on these things. When they broke down, you really only had yourself to get them back up to speed. Iris starts the bike up, stating that luckily, working with things that go fast runs in the West family. Just then, Barry and Wally run in, and Barry says that he only lost a second on him on the way here. Wally tells him it's because he always takes the scenic route. Iris ruffles his hair, telling him, "Any trouble running on water?" And Barry says that he tried to explain the science of the tidal wave, but Wally wouldn't listen. As everyone laughs, Wally screams out in pain as another of his memories comes back. Barry yells that they're taking him to Star Labs right now. He knows they don't want to, but they need to get these visions under control. Wally starts getting up, telling them, "No! Something is coming!" A second later, there's a flash of light, and the voice of Commander Cold, along with his renegades, calls out to Iris. He tells her, "By the order of the temporal courts, you're under arrest for the murder of Eobard Thawne." Barry runs up to Cold, telling him there has to be a misunderstanding. "We didn't." And Cold stops him, telling him, "Mr. Allen, we know who you are, and frankly, we don't care. We've been ordered by the temporal court's judge to bring Miss West to the 25th century." Everyone begins to put on their costumes, and Wally tells Barry, "You heard him, right? They know who you are. And we also know a rogue when we see one." Barry then asks, "With a name like the Renegades, how can we trust you?" And Cole tells him, "I was worried that you wouldn't remember our last encounter. Seems I was right." Wally gets in front of Iris, telling him, "She's not going anywhere." And Barry tells everyone, Okay, calm down a second. Maybe we should hear them out. If we talk things out, we can." But without a second thought, Wally grabs Iris and starts running, stating, "This is not happening." Barry calls out to Wally, and Cold and his team take off right behind him. Down the street, Iris shouts to Wally to stop right there and put her down. She can take care of herself, and they don't ever run from a fight. Just as they stop, Weather Warlock fires lightning down on the two of them, and Iris begins to run with Heatstroke taking off after her. Wallace jumps into the air, punching Heatstroke to stop him, and Barry catches up, telling Cold that they don't need to fight, they need... Cold tells him, "It's too late. Golden Guardian, you're up." Golden Guardian smiles and holds up her yellow lantern ring, stating, "And the blackest day and the brightest night, beware your fears made into light! Let those who try to stop what's right burn like my power, Sinestro's might!" And as she finishes, fear constructs of evil flashes start running out, taking everyone down. As Barry and the others try to fight back, more and more constructs appear, and Cold holds out his gun, stating that he's sorry to do this, but... However, before he can pull the trigger, Iris flies out of the garage on Wallace's dirt bike, running into Cole, telling him no one ever takes aim at her family. Before she can get very far, though, Wally starts to have another vision. And just as the renegades surround him, Cold gets back up, telling everyone, "Stand down." Wally West is having what we in the 25th century call a temporal seizure. It comes from time travel or changes in the timeline. His memories are being splintered, and they're causing damage to his nervous system. Iris asks if he can help him, and Cole tells her, "Yes, but our orders are for you. If you come with us and answer our questions, your nephew will be cared for." Iris says that even with Thawne's blood on her hands, her family let the fear of that man haunt them. No more. She's not afraid of him. Let's go. Barry yells out for them to wait. Let me come as a witness. I could explain her innocence to the courts. They'll understand that it was self-defense. Cole tells him that he really doesn't care who comes with, as long as Iris is with us. And Wallace says, if you're going, I'm going too. I would run to the ends of the earth for her. No one else is going. I don't trust them. Maybe they're wrong. Maybe the visions are a warning. Barry says, look, Iris is right. This needs to end. If you don't want to go, I understand. Wally tells him, no, I'm going to follow. I'll trust them for now. Cold sighs, stating, great. Happy family, hooray. Next stop, the temporal courts. As a loud and in a flash of light, the group is suddenly in the temporal courts of the 25th century, except Wally West isn't with them. Barry looks around asking where is Wally, and Cold looks at his scanner stating that he should be with us. This is all wrong. Meanwhile, over at the destroyed Flash Museum, Wally appears and frantically looks around, shouting, asking, where is everyone? What is that? A voice tells him, this is your life, your real life. This is everything that was taken from you. Everyone you ever known or loved, forgotten, but not lost. Barry did nothing to find them, and they're all trapped as out of the Speed Force, just like you were. You can still be the hero that they need, but the only way to save your family is to destroy the Speed Force. Wally spins around asking who's there, and Hunter Zolomon steps out between the glass cases that are for Jai and Ray West, stating, my name is Hunter Zolomon, but you can call me Zoom, and together, we're gonna save your children. Wally walks up to the cases displaying the costumes of his children, and Hunter asks, you felt something was missing, didn't you? When you were trapped in the Speed Force, Barry pulled you out, but deep down, you knew there was something else, your family, your friends, your children. I've never forgotten. All I wanted to do is show you how to be a better Flash, and for you to recognize that potential to be the greatest hero that ever lived. Now the pathway has been revealed. Let me show you the way down the right path. Wally clenches his fist, swinging, yelling, like I would ever follow a person like you. And as he hits Hunter, a flood of memories pour into his mind, and he steps back, stating, you tried to kill Linda to teach me a lesson in tragedy. You took my kids, but I got them back. Did you do something to them again? If you don't tell me where Ray and Jai are, I will drag you across space and time. Hunter pulls down his mask, telling him, just listen, I'm not here to fight. Living in the future has given me some perspective on what I've done in the past. Wally begins to create a whirlwind, knocking Hunter away, asking, perspective? You tormented my family! And Hunter slowly begins to get back up with Wally watching, asking, you don't have powers. And Hunter tells him, that's what I've been trying to say, I've changed. After the cosmic treadmill exploded in the Flash Museum, my thoughts were all mixed up. It corrupted my way of thinking, but in the end, I'm still your friend, Wally. Together we can fix our mistakes. You can continue to hate me and lock me up, or we can be heroes again. Back with the others. Cold looks over his reading, stating, Wally did have a crazy amount of temporal energy, but this isn't right. Someone grabbed him. The time stream is a crime scene. As Barry asks for help, the Golden Guardian runs in yelling that they have a problem. The judge is missing. But they found evidence in his office, and it's a little distressing. Suddenly, a video is played back on the many screens that shows the fight between Iris and Eobard. It shows Iris killing Eobard Thawne in self-defense, and Colt then says, this may not have been about Iris. It's about bringing Wally here too, and I know where he is. Barry yells that if Wally is in danger, we're going after him. And Colt tells his team to lock everyone up until we can sort this out. Barry begins running and punching everyone, stating that when they first showed up, he was holding back. But he won't stand still while his family is in danger. Cold grabs his gun, telling him, that's enough! Barry smacks it out of his hand, telling him, you're being manipulated. If you have any idea where Wally is, you're coming with me. Back at the Flash Museum, Hunter goes on, telling him, I warned you about going back in time and changing it. When Barry went back to save his mother, he created the Flashpoint, and he nearly destroyed the world. Though Barry managed to put things back together, there are things missing. Before I became Zoom, I was selfish. I wanted to go back and fix my life, but now, this is bigger than going back in time. There are people trapped in the Speed Force. Wally turns away, telling him that he's just trying to trick him into cutting the connection that him and Barry have to the Speed Force. And Hunter shouts, asking, your powers are more important than your children? The temporal energies in your body will allow you to enter the Speed Force at the right speed and break it. It'll be enough to save Ray and Jai. Be the hero that we all know you are. Just then, Barry runs in with Commander Cold, stating that they never needed a reverse Flash to tell them how to be heroes. Cold points his gun at Hunter, telling him, you're under arrest. And as he fires, Wally runs through yelling, no! And he deflects the shot, creating a blast, knocking Barry and Cold away. Seconds later, Wallace and Iris show up, and Wallace asks, is that Reverse Flash? And Wally tells him, he used to call himself Zoom. He's from before Barry made a mess of things. Barry asks him, how could you defend someone in that costume? And Wally says, I know parts of my life have been taken away. Like my children. I had twins, Barry. Everyone begins to look around and Iris says that she remembers. She used to babysit them. Who else are they? But before Iris can ask her question, Cold grabs his gun, pointing it at Hunter, stating that everyone is coming with me. The courts will sort this out. Hunter yells to Wally, telling him, you know that this is too big for them to understand. You have to break the Speed Force. Wally tells Barry that if he runs fast enough, he can re-enter the Speed Force and he can save them. And Barry asks, are you really considering this? You were trapped there. Wally takes off running, telling him, I wasn't asking for your permission. But before Barry could follow, Cold checks his scanner, stating that Wally just jumped into the time stream. There's no point in running. Barry tells Cold, if you want to redeem yourself, then take care of Iris and Wallace until I catch up. I know there's a cosmic treadmill in this museum. Cold begins pressing buttons on his wrist, stating, how about a shortcut? I have Wally's Speed Force signatures, so you should be able to get right to him. As Barry disappears, Hunter looks at Cold and tells him, Wally is finally on the right path to becoming the true Flash. And Cold tells him, you're not going anywhere. And Hunter tells him, you're here because I created the Renegades. And Cold tells him, maybe it's time to go rogue then. Hunter grabs a shiny yellow hammer and slams it on the ground, yelling, I hate rogues! And in a flash of light, he disappears. Suddenly, the alarms begin going off, and Iris asks, what's that? And Cold says that it's a citywide siren. It's a temporal event. Everyone begins to head outside, and Cold goes on telling them, whatever Hunter did, he changed the timeline in a major way. Time is beginning to erase itself. As the entire city around the three heroes begin to fade to white, Cold grabs Iris and Wallace, telling them, don't worry. It may be too late for this, but everything is going to be okay. And as he says this, they fade into white. Meanwhile, in another time, Wally races towards Central City, thinking about the life that he had. And then Barry charges into him, sending the two of them flying down the road. Barry gets up, telling him, Hunter is lying! And Wally gets up and starts running, telling him, and what if he's not? Barry turns to grab Wally, telling him, then we'll find another way! And Wally pushes Barry off of him, telling him, you should be helping me in this. And if you won't, I'll make sure that you never run again. Barry steps back, telling him, I don't want that. Look, Eobard murdered my mother and took my life away. Every day has been about making sure that no one else has to go through what I did, including you. I will not allow you to make the same mistakes that I once did. What if destroying the Speed Force has bigger consequences than losing our powers? And Wally yells, I don't care about the consequences. And Barry then says, if you run, I will catch you. And Wally asks, do you remember what happened the first time that we raced? Two pause for a moment, and as the two generate more power, Wally takes off with Barry shouting, you have to stop! Seconds later, as Barry catches up to Wally, they tear through the world, with Amanda Waller watching the two pass, and she tells Steve Trevor, you might want to call in your friends. Tell them to clean up this mess before Task Force X is involved, because either way, the Flashes must be stopped. Wally shouts, Hunter was right! My kids are trapped! There isn't another second that I'm gonna stand around and do nothing! Soon the ground around Amanda Waller and Steve Trevor begins to rumble, and Amanda asks, are they coming around again? And Steve tells her, no. You said to call on my friends, right? Superman and the rest of the Justice League begin to touch down, with Diana asking, what is going on? You said the Flash was in danger? And Amanda tells him, no, the Flash is the danger. It appears that there are two Flashes and they're racing. It just might bring the end of the world that we're supposed to be protecting. Cyborg taps into the network and says, Waller's telling the truth for once. The energy that they're generating is playing havoc with every fabric of the multiverse. Superman kneels down, telling them, if there's even a slight chance that they can hurt someone, I'm gonna catch up and talk some sense into them. In a flash, Superman takes off, following close behind, calling out to Barry and Wally, telling them, you have to stop! However, to them, they're running too fast and they're so involved in their own argument that Superman's words don't even reach them. Back with everyone, there's a blue flash with Superman stopping, taking a deep breath, stating, I couldn't catch them, they're going too fast. Hal Jordan reports in, telling everyone, hey, don't worry, if the blue couldn't get their attention, maybe green will. Roy then asks, wouldn't going that speed kill them if they hit the wall? And Hal says, being friends with Barry for this long means that I've been subjected to his flashbacks for years. I'm using all of my will to vibrate this construct at a frequency that if they run through it, it'll slow them down but not kill them. But as Wally runs through it, he plows through the construct, destroying it, forcing Barry to stop and save Hal. Barry tells him, I know you're trying to help, but it's too dangerous for any of you to be here. After setting him down, Hal reports that they nearly broke his ring. The energy that they are giving off demolished his construct. This is bad. Real bad, guys. Barry manages to catch up, shouting, what is wrong with you? Hal is our friend and you nearly killed him. He grabs Wally by the arm, throwing him into a building. But Wally lands feet first and continues running, telling them, I knew that you were going to be there to save him. Wally tells him, if you trust me, now's the time to show it, Barry. And Barry asks, what do you want me to do then? Wally tells him, we need to continue to race into the Speed Force, smashing through the other side. And Barry says, we both have gotten lost in the Speed Force before, Wally. And Wally tells him, that's because we were alone. This time we could stay grounded. We are each other's lightning rods, Barry. Just then, Wally begins to break through the Speed Force barrier with Barry yelling, telling him, I can't keep up. Something is wrong. There's pain. Barry begins to fall back, shouting, wait! But Wally calls out, telling him, you just have to believe. I can save my children. I have to. There's a loud crack-oom, and both Barry and Wally are thrown out of the Speed Force. Barry gets up stating, I still feel connected to the Speed Force, but something's wrong. And just then there's another loud boom, with the Justice League landing and Diana shouting, what have you done? Barry asks, what is she talking about? And Aquaman tells him, look into the sky! As the two look up, they see lightning storms covering everything, and Barry says, I think we just broke the Speed Force. Wally then asks, but what about Irate and Jai? Hunter said! But before he could finish, Barry and Wally hear the sounds of cracks as somebody is going through hitting all of the heroes, and a voice calls out to them. The voice tells them, you didn't free them. You didn't break the Speed Force. All you did was break the Force barrier and unleash something else that was trapped long ago. Barry shouts to Hunter as he's holding Batman's unconscious body, and Hunter tells him, you always wanted to be like Barry, and now you can be. A selfish man who hurt the world. Wally asks, what are you talking about? And Hunter says, I needed you to break the Force barrier so that I could gain access to what was still inside of the Speed Force. Barry steps forward shouting, you lied! And he begins to create a whirlwind blast, but Hunter holds up Batman's body, letting him take the hit and being sent off across the city. Hunter yells, you did what a hero does. You took the risk. And yes, I do know where Wally's family really is. But I saw the dangers that are coming into our world and what you needed to be a true hero. Like a fool, I hoped it would have been Wally. Hunter holds up a ring, telling them, Eobard used to hang on to Barry's original Flash ring, hoping the same thing for him. As the ring opens up, a red costume comes out and Hunter tells them, no one understands tragedy like I do. My name is Hunter Zolomon, and I am the Flash. I am much, much more than just the fastest man alive. You think that you know everything about the Speed Force, but that's just one of the forces out there. And now you have freed them all. Barry and Wally start rushing towards Hunter, but Hunter holds out his hand and the two stop. Hunter tells them, the history books call these forces the Sage Force and the Strength Force. Hunter telepathically lifts Barry and Wally into the air and then punches them back down, telling them, I saw how these would eventually make your lives a living hell, and I'm going to save you from that future, and use these powers to kill both of you, and finally bring back the life that was taken. As Hunter starts to take the two down, Wally jumps to his feet and takes Hunter away, asking, where are my kids? Where did you hide them? And Hunter grabs Wally by the throat, telling him, no, that's not on me. You never understood, but Barry gets it. Barry knows how tragedy makes a hero. You practically lived the same life. A madman changed your lives forever, and destiny turned you into heroes. These events turned me into Zoom, but that was the path that I needed to run to join you as the new Flash. Together, both Barry and Wally yell that there's never going to be a time when he becomes the Flash. And Hunter punches Barry and mentally stops Wally, telling him, I'm stronger and smarter. You were always blind to the Speed Force, and look where that got you. We thought these heroes were equals when we should have been your masters. It never crossed your minds what other forces would be out there. Now with the Flash family broken, it's time to fix the past, present, and future. As Hunter turns back and he begins to run, Wally helps Barry up, telling him that they need to hurry and follow Hunter before things get even worse. Meanwhile, back with the others floating in nothingness, Wallace asks, where are we? Are we dead? And Cole tells him, no. I was able to get us away from the time wave before it could get us. I just couldn't set coordinates. This must be the no-when. Iris asks what are they supposed to do, and Cole tells her Kid Flash can run us back into the time stream. That way, we can get back home. Wallace says that he doesn't have a lightning rod like Barry or Wally, and Iris stops him, telling him, yeah, you do. You're a member of our family, and you know exactly who to run to when you're worried. You can do this. Now run, damn it! Wallace grabs a hold of Iris and Cole's arm, shouting, yes, ma'am! And he starts to run. Over with Hunter, he punches through into the time stream, and he looks back and he sees Barry and Wally, and he laughs, telling them, it looks like I've got some sidekicks. The two try to grab a hold of Hunter, but as Hunter dodges, he tells them, this is so much bigger than you. Thanks to you breaking the Force barrier, I can cross the line into hyper time. Here I can pick and choose the reality that I want to be the hero that you need. All that's needed is the last Force. As the realities begin to bend around everyone, Barry says that he must be talking about the Still Force. The Justice League just recently encountered it. It's a dark alternate current to the Speed Force. Wally yells, whatever it is, we can't let Hunter get a hold of it. What's worse is I've been in hyper time before, and this doesn't look right. Barry says, it's gotta be dying because of the source wall breaking. That's why we need. But Wally stops as he sees images of Irate and Jai, stating, that's my kid's future! Barry calls out to him, but Hunter hits him, telling him, Wally is starting to understand. We can all get what we want. Hunter starts running through a reality where Wally has his family, and just as he begins to stop and look, Barry tells him, we have to keep going. The longer that we wait, the further that Hunter's going to get, and we will find them again. And Wally starts running, telling him, you're right. I know you're right. And that's when there's a loud crack, and as everyone stops, Wally asks, what is this? And Hunter says, don't you recognize the 25th century? You were just here, but your adventures erased it. Wally shouts, asking, where are Iris and Wallace? And Hunter attacks them, telling them, it doesn't matter. All is lost and found at my whim. You could have had these powers if you weren't so weak, but you're unworthy of even fighting for it. Hunter grabs Wally by the neck, and as he grabs him, Wally's eyes begin to glow as another memory comes in, and he shouts, we used to be friends! As Wally remembers, Hunter is knocked away by the temporal energy, and he asks, what did you do? I need to get back into hyper time. Barry and Wally take off after him, and Barry asks, did you see that? Your temporal seizure hurt Hunter. That could be the key to winning this whole thing. Wally asks him how, and Barry tells him, whenever you think about something from your past, you have a burst of temporal energy, and that clashes with the Speed Force connection. Now that Hunter is connected to the Speed Force, temporal energy should hurt him. It might be possible to use that energy to expel him from hypertime. Wally asks what happens if he uses the temporal energy and he forgets his family again. And Barry shouts, you won't. You just have to embrace them. The past and legacy are important, and you can learn from them to help you move forward. Your connection to the people that you love, whether here or not, is your greatest gift. Wally then asks, how are we going to catch up to Hunter? And Barry asks, remember when you asked me about the first time that we raced? Of course I remembered. I was so lost in the science of the Speed Force that I missed out on just having fun and cutting loose. Wally West always enjoyed speed, and right now, you need to remember that Wally West is the fastest man alive! Wally begins to focus on his running, and slowly he begins to inch closer and closer to Hunter, and then he tells Hunter, this race is over. Hunter asks him, do you really think you can keep up with me? And he swings, except his arm goes through Wally. Wally laughs, asking, ha ha, as you like that, I went intangible from vibrating so much. That's something my daughter taught me. You've helped me remember everyone in my life and the people who made me. So for that, thank you for reminding me that I don't run through the Speed Force alone. Wally starts to concentrate, and he lets out the temporal energy that he's been storing up with the memories of his family, and unleashes it onto Hunter Zolomon. And as he does, there's a loud crack-a-boom, and Barry finds himself back in Central City. He looks around asking where Wally and Hunter are, and that's when there's a loud crack-a-boom, and Wallace comes running out holding Iris and Colt. He gets up telling them that he didn't think he could go that fast, and Barry tells him, that was amazing! You found your way back! And Wallace stops him, stating that he found his way back because he let his anger guide him. As Wallace pushes Barry back, Barry asks him, what? And Wallace tells him, it's because we're supposed to be a family, and when we were in the future, you left me. Iris pulls Wallace away, stating it's okay, and Wallace tells her, no, it's not. We can't keep doing this. Cole checks his scanner and he asks Barry, what the hell did you do in there? The force barrier's a mess. The fact that I'm alive means the future must have been fixed. Hopefully. What's worse, there's no temporal energy, which means all speedsters are done. Forever. All access to hyper time is shut down, and I'm stuck here. Iris asks, what about Wally? And Cold looks at the scanner, stating, well, I'm not sure if it's him or not, but someone is connected to the Speed Force in this time period. Over at Mount Hood in Oregon, Wally starts to pick himself up from the snow, and Barry says, let me help. Wally asks, where is? And Barry tells him, they're at home, or at least in the correct time period. Wally says, no, Hunter. And Barry tells him he's not sure. Wally pushes Barry off, stating that they escaped. That means that Hunter escaped too. They need to find him. And Barry runs in telling him, stop! Can't we just talk for a second? Wally tells him, I've been angry at you for so long, and that's because you mean everything to me. It wasn't Linda or the kids who grounded me, it was Barry Allen. You pulled me out of the Speed Force, and I may be faster, but I could never outrun you. Hunter was right. I wanted him to be so badly, and I ended up making the same selfish mistakes as you. It was wrong of me to ask you to run with me after everything Eobard did to you. So right now, I need to go back to the future and find Hunter. Barry stops him. You can't. When you released your temporal energy, you cut off time travel. Wally steps back, asking, then Hunter won. Barry then says, we may have lost, but right now, we need to stop running. Wally asks, what, like you did after your mother's death? You stood still for years. You might have made your own mistakes, but I refuse to make yours again. We're not the same, and I'll never stop running, Barry. As Wally leaves, Barry stands there thinking about the things that have changed. He is not the fastest man alive anymore. After briefing the League on everything that had happened, everyone went their separate ways, with Wallace following Damian Wayne and Iris going out to find Wally. But even with the force barrier being shattered, if there's one thing that he can learn from loss, it's that he will always find hope. Meanwhile, elsewhere, a young speedster comes through the street stating, "I'm not sure if you heard me, Wally, but if not, who cares? The force barrier is down and the one and only Bart Allen is back." Back in the 25th century, the Renegades hurry over to Iron Heights Penitentiary, and Golden Guardian says that the readings show that there have been some massive changes. Whether Warlock asks what are they supposed to do, they are all that's left of the Renegades. And Golden Guardian shouts that they will deal with that later. Iron Heights is the greatest prison in the multiverse. Eobard built it after he caught its only inmate, if he ever escaped. But as the Renegades turn the corner, a bolt of lightning strikes them, fading them from existence, and a voice says, "Finally, the Flashes will pay for what they have done." The metal doors fall over, revealing the name of the inmate, Crisis. And Crisis says, "Worlds will live, worlds will die. The multiverse will never be the same." With the force barrier damaged and the revelation of Strength Force and the Sage Force, Barry sought the help of the only people who would have insight on other forces, the multiversal Flashes. But as he stands in the House of Heroes, none of the Flashes before him know anything other than the Speed Force. No one knows what the Sage Force, Strength Force, and Still Force are. Barry sighs, stating, "Thanks anyway. It's good to see all of you, but I'm gonna go back to my lab and try to figure this out." One Flash says that it's not always about science, you know, and another asks, "Did you ever go on a Force quest?" Barry stops, asking, "What?" Flash says, he can't go on believing something as powerful as the Speed Force is all about him. He should go out there and explore, learn a little bit. Barry tells them, thanks, I'll think about it. If you need me, you know where to find me." And back in the current day Central City, Trickster sits in a room with Detective Burns and Morrow, stating that if Wolf finds out about this, he's dead. Morrow asks, "Why do you think we're hiding you up here? Why are you so jittery?" Trickster then says that he's not sure about this, he's not feeling too good. Maybe they should get him to a nurse or something. Burns tells him, look, she knows how small and powerless Wolf made him feel, but they can help him. And Morrow tells him to just relax. The judge will be here any minute and they can drop him back off at Iron Heights. Wolf will never know. Just then a male and a female para-angel shout that they hope Trickster isn't afraid of heights. Burns and Morrow grab their guns and begin firing, but the para-angels shield themselves with their metal wings, shouting they heard that Trickster was talking too much. The male pulls Trickster out of the window, and then Trickster shouts, asking, "Do you know who's in Central City?" Trickster's fake arm falls off, and the male says, "The Flash may run the streets, but we run the skies." Below, Barry runs up the side of a building, jumping off of it, stating that his mother always told him that he had his head in the clouds. He springs off the building, punching into the male para-angel, and the two begin struggling for control. The woman calls out that if he really wants him, all he has to do is catch him. She then lets go of Trickster, and Barry lands on a nearby building and begins running and leaping off, catching Trickster, asking, "What is this all about, Trickster?" Trickster tells him, "It's top secret, and shouldn't you be more worried about the para-angels getting some air?" A voice tells him that he wouldn't worry about the air. It's all about getting chilly. Commander Cold flies by, pointing his cold gun at the para-angels and fires, freezing them mid-flight. Barry shouts, "You've got to be kidding me!" And then he begins to run to the edge to create a whirlwind to catch the para-angels and safely put them back on the roof. Barry yells, "You could have killed them!" And Cole tells him that it was a nano-ice blast. They would have defrosted when I hit the switch. But while the two of them are distracted, Trickster uses his air-walking shoes to run down into the alleyway, and as he gets on the ground, he stumbles, stating, "I still feel weird. And the phantom pain on my arm? I haven't felt that in years." Just then, the ground begins to tear apart, and Trickster can feel himself being pulled down. He tries to grab onto something, screaming for help, but as whatever it is pulls him down, his cries go unheard. A short while later, back on the rooftops, Barry runs up to Commander Cole, telling him, "Great, your action caused us to lose Trickster." Cole tells him, "Look, I figure since I'm stuck here, I might as well lend a hand. Times are changing." Barry tells him, "No, this is my city. Things don't change in Central City. You can look for the forces all you want, but stay out of my way." Later that night, back at home, Barry goes through Trickster's file, stating that there's gotta be a place that he would always return to. Just need to keep Commander Cold away. Iris tells him that she knows that him being stuck here is his fault, right? Maybe he should just work with the time-displaced Commander Cold. They don't want him to become a villain again. Barry asks, "Are you worried? Is there anything that you remember from before about the new forces?" Iris thinks about it and says that she's not sure. Her memories are a bit weird. Some things fade in and out while others are stronger, but Iris remembers the other timeline in which they got married, and Barry asks, "Like, what?" And Iris trails off, stating something else. Just then, Barry's phone goes off, and Barry says that it's Cold. He thinks he's found Trickster. He runs out of the house, but then runs back, giving Iris a kiss, and then back out again. As he reaches the location that Cold sent him, Cold says that he's surprised he actually came. "Any lectures planned?" Barry tells him no, he actually came to listen to him. Cold laughs, telling him, well, my scans show that Trickster went missing right around this spot and... But before he could finish, the ground rumbles as a hand punches up, breaking apart the pavement. A figure begins to crawl out and a voice asks, what's happening? I feel, whoa! Cold tells him, I think we may have just found the strength force, and Barry asks if the giant hulking monster is Trickster? He punches Barry into the ground and then he grips the gravel arm, telling everyone, Central City saw me as a joke, but now they're all gonna pay for laughing at me. A few minutes pass, and as Commander Cold gets back up, he says that he hasn't been hit that hard since Gorilla Ghost sucker punched him in front of the House of Secrets. Barry helps him up, stating, you might have a concussion, and Cold brushes him off, telling him I'm fine, and I don't like the idea of moving at super speed to the hospital. Besides, we have bigger things to worry about than a few bumps and bruises. Back when I was an agent at the temporal courts, Trickster never turned into this. The two look at the hole in the ground, and Barry asks, was the Trickster buried alive? Cole tells him, well, the speed force struck you from above. Maybe the strength force comes from below. Scans show that the force is still in flux. After you and Wally broke the force barrier, you turned Central City into a petri dish for these new forces. It's probably trying to find a proper host. Meanwhile, downtown, Trickster smashes another police car shouting, Trickster Rex in the house! Barry and Cold speed through the city following Trickster's destruction, but while Iris goes to the library to try and find out more about the other forces, there's a loud crashing noise. She looks back to see the Flash thrown through the window. As Barry hits the bookshelves, he sees Iris and asks, where's the science section? He gets up, goes back to the window, and Iris says, my keen investigation skills tell me that Trickster found the strength force before you did, didn't he? Trickster then yells, I gotta be like the strongest guy in the world, right? I gotta be! Commander Cold runs up with his gun trying to freeze Trickster, telling him, it's time for you to chill out. But Trickster grabs him, telling him, I thought you were Snart, but Snart doesn't make puns. Flash runs down, punching into Trickster, and Trickster laughs, telling him, thanks for the massage, bro! And then he grabs him too. As Trickster begins to squeeze down on the Flash, he begins to vibrate out of his grip, and he shouts, we're here to help you! Trickster looks at his hand, stating, what the hell, bro? You cheated! That hurt! He grabs a car to throw, but before he can, he falls to his knees, shouting, something's wrong, bro! Cole tells him, it looks like the vibrational frequency must have thrown his body's connection to the strength force off. We need to take him out while we can. Barry tells him no. He's just a kid. Can't you use any of that fancy future tech to see what's going wrong? Commander Cole begins to scan Trickster, telling him the strength force is surging inside of him. The power is too much for his body. It's breaking down under his own weight. If we're gonna help out this criminal, we're gonna need to find a place that can contain him. Trickster struggles and says, I know a safe place, bro! A short while later, over at Iron Heights, Kristen looks through Trickster's files, stating that all of Wolf's personal files on him have been deleted. Did Wolf know that he was going to report him? Just then, Wolf asks Kristen what she's doing, and she tells him after the Flash totally screwed things up, she wanted to find clues that can help them. Could be possible that the Flash is the one hiding Trickster, and Wolf says, I doubt it. Why would the Flash ever dare work with? But that's when he's stopped by a guard yelling, they got him! It's the Trickster, and the Flash brought him in. As Flash and Cold walk through the doors of the prison with Trickster, Trickster whispers to Barry, no matter what, you can't leave me alone with Wolf, bro. Wolf walks out, stating that it looks like someone's on the juice. And why is Snart here? Barry runs up, stating, I need Commander Cold's help for running tests on Trickster, and Trickster isn't leaving my sight. Wolf then asks, why exactly would I allow you to observe one of my inmates? What's in it for me? Barry asks, what do you want? And Wolf smiles. Later, inside of a containment tube, the Flash asks him, are you happy now? And Wolf tells him, it's like Christmas morning. I wanted to test my new anti-speedster cells on an expert. You're surrounded by a special glass that gives off a harmonic frequency so chaotic that if you try to vibrate through it, it will skin you down to the bone. As Commander Cold begins to work on the computer, Wolf asks, where exactly are you from? Where is home? Cold tells him, don't worry, no one knows who you are where I'm from. Cold then calls out, all right, Trickster, a giant punching bag is coming in. I'm giving you 3 guesses what I need you to do with it. The bag goes into the cell, and as he punches it, Cold looks at the computer, stating, holy, his strength is off the charts. He's getting heavier. The strength force must be based around gravity and the force of motion. His mass is increasing and creating his own gravitational field, but it's unstable. The speed force bonded with the Flash, but it's not doing that with the Trickster. Best guess, it's rejecting him. It's gonna kill him or it's gonna explode. The Flash asks, wait, it's not permanent? That means we can still help him. We just need to find a way to transfer that energy to... Cole tells him, is this guy really worth the risk? He might be better suited being put down. Kristen tells him, no, the Flash is right. Just then the computer beeps and Cold says, oh no, it's do or die time. The strength force is. Trickster begins to scream out in his cell as his muscles begin to expand. And Cold says, I'm sorry, we're running out of options here. Barry begins to beat on the anti-speed force cell, shouting, let me out! And the ground begins to rip apart underneath the Trickster, but it also ends up pulling Barry Allen into it. After a flash of light, Barry leans up, looking at his body, as it's now grown to the size of Trickster's because he's now inhabiting the strength force. The Trickster tackles into Barry, shouting, "You lied, bro! You just wanted to steal the spotlight!" The Flash tries to tell him, "That's not it!" And while the two of them struggle, Cold says, "I'm sorry, but there's only one way we're gonna stop the strength force, and that's by killing the both of you." Cold fires a shot off, narrowly missing Barry's chest. And then Cold calls out that he saw the readings. The strength force is too dangerous, especially now that you're infected. Barry shouts that Trickster doesn't deserve to die because of his past mistakes. He's just a kid. Hearing that, Trickster yells, "I am not a kid!" He charges at Barry, pinning him to the wall, but as they do, Wolf tells Cold that this is his chance. "Kill him! Pull the trigger!" Trickster turns back and Barry says, "There's still time to save the Trickster!" And then he punches the ground, throwing everyone off their balance. He steps back, looking at his fist, stating, "Whoa! This must be how Superman feels." Cold gets back up, stating, "Whatever you're thinking, I can't let you do it." And Barry tells him, "Wait!" Trickster's weight increased the stronger he was getting because of the manipulation of the gravitational field around him. But when I vibrated, so Barry begins to vibrate in place, and he slowly reduces his own size while retaining the strength. Barry says, "See? It can be controlled. All the strength force needs is an outlet, and we can do the same for Trickster." Cold sighs, stating, "I really hate science." Elsewhere in the prison, Wolf gets back up, and Trickster finds him, telling him, "You may have been the big bad wolf, but you won't ever blow me down again, bro." As Trickster smashes the ground next to Wolf, Barry runs in, tackling him out into the sea. The two punch back and forth, but without his full size, Barry is knocked back into the prison. They both go back and forth, fighting for power, and as they clash, the Flash asks what happens when an unstoppable force meets an immovable object. Just then, an explosion goes off in the center of the prison, and Barry gets up in his original form, asking, "Where did Trickster go?" Trickster calls out, holding up the entire building. "Over here! You got me pretty good! My bodacious bod is going bye-bye. Do me a favor, get my friends out of here before the house comes down." Barry tells him, "No, we can think of a way, Trickster." But Trickster shouts, "You keep saying you want to help, then help by saving my friends. The only family I got. Please, Flash." As Barry starts to run around getting everyone out, Trickster struggles to keep the weight of the building from falling as his body is slowly reverting back to its normal form. Once the final rogue is out of the prison, Barry runs back trying to grab Trickster. The debris falls, crushing him. He begins to remove the rocks, calling out the Trickster, and what he finds is the gravel arm broken off. As the sun comes up, Commander Cold scans the prison, stating that Central City has become the epicenter for the new forces, and it's playing havoc with his scanners. But Iron Heights is free of the strength force. If it found a new host, he or she is going to be out there in the world. Barry asks him, "What about the Trickster?" And Cold tells him, "Nothing. I tapped into some satellites over Central City, but I didn't pick up any traces of him. Also, we didn't find a body." Barry then shouts, "I've had enough of this. All of this stuff happened because of what you did, Commander Cold. This isn't the 25th century. Your ways are not going to fly here." Cold asks him, "Are you calling me reckless? I'm stuck in the Stone Age because you and Wally wanted to race. All I want to do is go back home and see if the people that I love are still alive. My very presence here means the future has already changed. The world that I love is gone. I can never go back, Flash. You're gonna need to get over yourself and get ready for what's about to come." Cold speeds off on his hover bike, and Iris asks, she thought that they were supposed to be working together. Barry looks back, asking, "What are you doing here?" And Iris says, "Covered a story. Flash fought Trickster and Wolf's guards, and there's a man dressed like Captain Cold. What even is his real name? We know he's from the future, but Commander Cold would be a weird real name." Barry brushes her off, stating that he needs to get back to work, and he'd rather not talk about any of this. Iris grabs him, stating, "Yeah, but I do." And Barry tells her, "Oh yeah? What about you then? Let's talk about what you're hiding. You're not the only one in this relationship who can pick up on clues. I know you're not telling me something from your past life. Why? What is so bad that you would hide it from me, Iris?" Iris thinks back to the wedding memories that she had and says that it's nothing. Barry heads back into the prison, stating, "Fine, don't tell me. I'll see you at home when I get off of work." Meanwhile, elsewhere, Trickster looks around and finds himself in an abandoned building covered in dust. He asks, "Where am I? Is this some kind of trick?" A shadowy hand reaches out, stating, "It ain't your time just yet. If you had just let the para-angels bring you here from the start, we could have avoided all of this, but it's okay. It's all about the long con, you know. Come on, let James Jesse lend you a hand. Pun intended." There's a loud boom in Central City as a giant fist of Zolomon Grundy punches into Barry Allen, knocking him to the ground. As the Flash sits there, he thinks how Halloween is one of Iris' favorite holidays, and instead of spending time with her, he's fighting a zombie with the Justice League Dark. He gets back up and he starts to lay into Zolomon, with Zolomon grabbing him, and the Flash thinking that he might have to come up with a different plan to bring him down. Grundy pulls back, and as he swings, the Flash begins to vibrate at a particular frequency that allows him to pass through Grundy's fist, and boom! Pieces of Grundy fly all around, and Wonder Woman and says that she's surprised. She never took him for one to deal a lethal blow like that. Flash shrugs it off, telling her that Grundy will be fine. He'll be back to his old gray self before you know it. Right now, I gotta head out and meet up with Iris and the others. I'll catch you all later. Flash changes out of his costume as he runs to the bar to meet up with Iris, Burns, and Morrow. And as he walks in, Morrow laughs, stating, "Shoot! I thought you'd be at least an hour late. Since you're only 15 minutes late, I guess I'll be picking up the first round, huh?" Barry laughs as he heads to the bar, stating, "Fine, another round for my friends. But a water for me, please." The bartender asks if he's sure that he doesn't want a cold one. "If anyone needs to loosen up, it's you, Barry Allen." Commander Cold smiles as he leans in the back of the bar. And Barry asks, what is he doing here? Cold tells him that since he's stuck in this primitive era, he's got to make money somehow, and he doesn't have very many options. Burns gets up to help Barry with the drinks and asks who's his friend behind the counter. Barry says that he's not a friend, just a suspect in an old case I had. Meanwhile, over at Iron Heights, Heatwave begins to head back to his cell when the doctor tells him that he may want to try meditation. It might help with his. Heatwave stops him, telling him, "None of that new age stuff works for me. Not really my style." Mirror Master laughs, asking Weather Wizard if he's seeing this. Heatwave is talking about his feelings. It's truly the end of the rogues. Heatwave tells him, "Shut it, or it'll be the end for you." But as he passes Warden Wolf, Wolf asks how was his visit today. Heatwave scoffs, telling him, "Nothing for you to stress over, you glorified security guard." Wolf says that if he continues with that kind of a tone, he'll learn that there's no way out of Iron Heights. And Heatwave says, "Oh yeah? Tell that to James Jesse." And Wolf snaps, asking, "How do you know about?" But just then an explosion goes off in Heatwave's cell, and he screams as he's being burned alive. Back at the bar, Barry and the others sit and laugh, but as Barry looks towards the bathroom, he sees a red blur. He gets up and he says that he thinks he saw someone, and Iris asks if it's someone from his old Trek team. Superman once told Barry that he and Lois had a code word for when there was danger and one of them needed to go, and what Iris was asking was Barry's version of it. Barry heads to the bathroom, but he doesn't see anything, and just then a deformed Wally West beats on the mirror on the other side, asking, "Why did you let them take me?" Barry jumps back, yelling, "No, I'm not falling for Mirror Master's games. I'm not sure how you found me, but I'm coming." Wally breaks through the glass, shouting, "You left me, Barry!" And Barry shields himself as he looks up and sees nothing. He walks out and Kristen says there he is. Singh just called and said there's something happened at Iron Heights, all hands on deck kind of a situation. So Barry hugs Iris and tells her goodbye. As everyone leaves, Iris goes to the bar and tells Cole that they need to talk about the new forces. Still, Sage, Strength. Back at Iron Heights, Heatwave lays in the ICU as Kristen looks over Heatwave's paperwork stating that Mick has always been a pyromaniac. This is hardly the first time that he's been burned, but this one might kill him. The scans show that his synapses are exploding. His body has been experimented on a few times over the years. We just need to figure out why he just spontaneously combusted this time. As Heatwave nods in and out of consciousness, he begins to see the world change, and he finds himself walking through a burnt-out city. He looks around asking, "What the hell is this?" And a large fire spirit appears before him, telling him, "No, there's nothing left to burn. Fire is about pain. It cleanses, it heals. The fire gives life." Over at the bar, Iris sits with Cole, telling him that these new forces seem familiar, but she's finding it rather odd that there's no mention of it in the future. Cole sits back, stating that time travel's funny like that. But instead of looking into the future, you might want to look into the past. What else do you remember before the flashpoint? Iris tells him bits and pieces, but just then her phone rings and she tells Cole to hang on. To Barry. She answers and she asks what's up, and Barry says that he isn't finished yet, but he was wondering if she could ask that bartender. But before he could finish, there's a scream as 3 fire demons charge throughout the prison. Barry says that he's got to go, and Iris tells Cole that he's gonna need help. Cole says that he doesn't take orders from, but Iris shouts at him, "Just go!" Back at the prison, Barry changes into his costume to help pull people away from the demons, and as the Flash grabs Wolf, Wolf yells, "I don't need help from you." The Flash tells him, "Watch, they aren't going after you anyway." And Wolf then says, "Who then?" The Flash says giant fire demons arrive at Iron Heights right after one of your resident fire starters is hurt. Take a wild guess. He races to where Heatwave is being kept, and he finds Burns there, and he tells her that she needs to get out of here. Just then, Heatwave's eyes begin to glow blue, and the Flash tackles Burns to the ground, shouting, "Get down!" And a second later, Heatwave explodes again. Both the Flash and Burns get up, and they see the fire this time took out everything. Burns asks, "Where is everyone?" And as the Flash kneels down at a pile of charred bones, he says that these bodies, there's something off about the way the fire spread. A fire that could do that, these flames are not normal. The voice then tells him, "That's because normal is boring, and I'll never be normal again. This is my world, Flash. Here, Heatwave is God." As Heatwave attacks, the Flash grabs Bird and runs her outside so that he can try and fight back against the giant Heatwave. The fire spirit from before tells Heatwave not to bother with the Flash. He knows what needs to be done. If he truly loves her, if he loves fire, he'll burn it all. Heatwave tells her, yes, my love. And a second later, Iron Heights explodes. The Flash runs outside asking Burns if she's okay, and she tells him that she's thankful for the save, but the next time he wants to pick her up, ask first. Heatwave starts to make his way to Central City, and as the Flash watches, Burns asks, aren't you gonna go after him? And Flash tells her no, because this is all wrong. Heatwave's obsessed with fire, not killing. Those charred bones, they don't match up with what the evidence would look like. We're still in Iron Heights, but not the real Iron Heights. Burns asks, what is that supposed to mean? And the Flash says that he believes that they are lost in Heatwave's mind. Back in the real world, the Flash and Burns lay knocked out next to Heatwave's bed as the fire demons are getting closer. Wolf shouts to his men to keep firing, but as the demons reach out for Heatwave, they're suddenly encased in ice. Wolf looks back, stating, you. And Commander Cole tells him, my buddy Heatstroke is gonna be so hellish that there are fire monsters here. Wolf asks, what the hell are you doing here? And Cole tells him, you're welcome, by the way. Wolf looks back and says, welcome for what? This is the second time this month that my prison has been destroyed, and you and the Flash are somehow involved. Why is that, Commander Cold? But when Wolf turns back, he finds Cold, the Flash, Burns, and Heatwave are gone. Back inside Heatwave's mind, the Flash goes through the remains of Iron Heights, and Burns says that Heatwave's never had an ability like telepathy before, right? The Flash tells her no, this is the Sage Force. Recently, Central City was the epicenter for a series of new forces that were unleashed into the world. The first one was the Strength Force, and that hit Trickster, turned him into a giant brute. This one clearly hit Heatwave. Burns says, okay, then why is she here? She has no connection to these forces. The Flash tells her that he may have an idea, but he's going to need to carry her, so she sighs. He begins to cross water, and he explains that back when he ran too fast, he got pulled into the Speed Force itself. To escape, he had to focus on his lightning rod, something from his life that keeps him grounded. He believes that for them to get out of there, they need to find Heatwave's lightning rod. When they stop, Burns says that she never told anyone this, but before she came to Central City, her family was from Gotham. Her parents are part of the Falcone family making drugs. That was until their lab blew up and they died in a massive fire. That was part of the reason she became a cop. Flash says that he's sorry he didn't know, and Burns asks, why would he? It's not like we're friends. The Flash goes on stating that Heatwave must have pulled them in for a reason. The Sage Force must have read her mind and saw that they had similar paths. But just as he finishes, there's a loud whoom as part of the building they're in breaks. The Flash starts clearing a path, stating that something doesn't want them connecting to Heatwave. That must be why you're here. Back at the Flash's apartment in the real world, Iris knocks on the door, telling Cole that she knows that he's in there. He cracks the door open, saying, hi, password? Iris pushes away and stating that she doesn't have time for that. She needs to know what happened at Iron Heights. The things that her contacts have told her, they were insane. Iris looks down to see Flash, Burns, and Heatwave all hooked up to Cold's future tech. And Cold says, Barry did say to make myself at home. Back inside Heatwave's mind, the Flash leads Burns out of the smoke, and as Burns looks around, she asks, where are they? This looks like the suburbs outside of the city. The Flash looks back and says that he knows exactly where they are. This unscathed house is Heatwave's lightning rod, Heatwave's childhood home. Burns asks why would Heatwave have brought them there, and the Flash tells her that he didn't. As Heatwave appears above them, the Flash shouts to him, you couldn't find your lightning rod because you're too afraid. Why? Heatwave begins to revert to his normal phone, saying that he knew Flash wouldn't let him down. When he was young, he hoped that when he grew up, he would be like his dad. But back when he saw his first flame, he knew he was born obsessed. The Flash tells him that that isn't true. He might not be able to go back to the way things were, but he can always move. And Heatwave says, forward. Heatwave begins to change back, stating, I could never change what I am. Not today, not tomorrow. All that's ahead of me is a nightmare. I couldn't face it before, so now I will burn it all. Heatwave's blast rips through the building, and Flash runs in, saving Heatwave's younger self, stating that if he can just get... But then there's another explosion. Back in the real world, Heatwave's body begins convulsing, and Iris asks what happens to the Flash and Burns if they're not disconnected from the Sage Force. Cold looks at the scanner, stating that it's way worse than just that. If Heatwave has another flare-up like he did at Iron Heights, he's gonna destroy all of Central City. Inside Heatwave's mind, the Flash continues to run, and he runs right into a wall of fire bouncing off of it. He looks around and sees dozens of paths with no clear way to go. The Flash tries to vibrate through the fire, but as he burns his hands, Burns tells him it's no use. Heatwave's maze is endless. The Flash starts running through the maze, stating that he will search every path until he can find an exit. And Burns says that it's only a waste of time. Heatwave then calls out, just like him, they're trapped in a life he didn't want. This maze makes them feel the way that he did the day his parents died. The Fire Spirit whispers to Heatwave, burn them, my love. They are all that stands between you and me finally being together as one. The Flash yells, don't listen to her! You've been infected by the Sage Force. It's given your sickness a voice, and all it wants to do is pull you deeper into your mind. Heatwave yells, no! You're lying! I'm the one in control here. This is my world. This is where I am God. Over in the real world, Cold begins hitting Heatwave with his cold gun, stating that it can't keep it up forever. If the Sage Force keeps accelerating thanks to Barry's Speed Force, then any minute, Heatwave's going to go nuclear. If we don't act fast, the city is doomed. Iris runs over to the computer stating, okay, the Sage Force feeds on empathy, right? Wait, how did I know that? These new forces, ever since Hunter Zolomon tricked Barry and Wally into unleashing them, they felt so familiar. An image then flashes before Iris's eyes as she's working at a station, stating she remembers them in her past life. Before the flashpoint, she studied the new forces. She knows what needs to be done. Hurry, put this on! Inside of Heatwave's mind, Burns calls out that they just want to help, and Heatwave tells her, no, the Sage Force has helped me in ways that no one else has. He begins throwing fireballs at the ground, and a voice tells him, that ain't you, buddy. Heatwave looks over asking, Captain Cold? Captain Cold hits him with a cold gun, stating, the one and only. Now why don't you chill out for a moment? Heatwave breaks free from the ice, shouting, you aren't the real Snort. He's locked up in Bell Reef. Cold asks, is that right? Then how would I know about the job we tried to pull in Metropolis a few years ago? Back before the Rogues, when it was just us, and Superman swooped in to put the fire out with his Fury's breath. Heatwave stops, asking, you left the whole time when we were being carried to Iron Heights. Cold tells him, yeah, you used to help me find an outlet for my passion, but really we helped each other. Helped me get over obsessing over my past and how my dad treated me. Heatwave starts to shrink, stating, the urge will never leave me. And Cold says, maybe, but the Mick I know would never let the fire control him. Heatwave blinks and sees himself in his old costume, and he asks, is this my gun? And Cold tells him, yeah, remember? You're the one in control of the fire. You don't need that overgrown matchstick dame to boss you around. It's time to go home, buddy. As everyone walks towards the light, the fire spirit screams, how dare you! If you won't love me, you will burn! But as the spirit attacks, the Flash runs in the way, deflecting the blast. The spirit asks why would he risk his life for a monster like Heatwave? And the Flash tells because he knows the pain that Heatwave feels. How hard it is to just let go of the past, and that moving forward sometimes hurts. The spirit gets ready for another attack, and the Flash runs circles around her, breaking her apart. She screams in pain, and everyone wakes up back in Barry's apartment. A short while later, the Flash brings Heatwave and Burns back to Iron Heights, and as Heatwave's bandages fall off, he looks at himself asking, where did my scars go? As Barry and Commander Cold leave the prison, Barry stops and tells him, you know, I may have been wrong about you. You did a good job back there. Cold steps off his hover by telling him, call me Henry. And Barry says, wait, that's my father's name. And Cold tells him, yeah, I know. Later, outside the city, Barry looks on, taking it all in when there's a low rumbling sound making its way towards him. Iris gets off her motorbike asking what's going on, and Barry says that Cole told him that she knows how to deal with the Sage Force. Iris tells him that she didn't want to lie or hide things from him, but she's unsure of the things that she remembers and was afraid that they weren't real. That's why she's been so hard on him, hanging up on the past. The past is gone. It's unfair to try and live with it always on our minds. You need to talk to the Flashes of the 52 worlds again about what's going on with a Force quest. Barry tells her that he already has. You should have listened to them from the start. Ever since Wally left, he's felt directionless. Iris then asks if he's going to finally accept that he can't go backwards. What's stopping him from going on this quest? Barry says it's because of her. She laughs, and Barry says, what? I'm serious. I can't live without you. She kisses him and tells him that he's a lovable, well-meaning dummy. Don't you get it? I'm coming with you. Meanwhile, over at Earth 18, home of Flash, Johnny Thunder. Johnny holds his ground as a tornado comes his way, stating that this might be his last stand. But they can bet their behinds that he's gonna go down shooting. The Winds start to dismantle his guns in a voice that asks, what did Barry want with the Flashes of the 52 worlds? Johnny says that he needed to go on his Force quest, and Johnny starts to get pummeled, and the voice says, finally, the time has come. Barry Allen runs in the right direction, towards me, Hunter Zolomon, the true Flash. As Iris walks through the busy market getting some food, she tells the Flash that it's been years since she's been here, but she's never forgotten how good this place smells. He's gotta try some of this. Wait, come on, you promised you wouldn't do this on this trip. Meanwhile, running through the crowded street, Flash makes his way through the people, chasing down a purse snatcher while making sure not to bump into too many people. But just as the crowds let up, the purse snatcher stumbles onto the streetcar tracks, falling down. The man driving shouts for everyone to hold on as he hits the brakes, and with how fast they're going, They don't think they're going to stop in time. Just before the streetcar can hit the man, the Flash runs in front of it, creating a wind tunnel to slow it down, stating that it looks like he's got there right on time. After making sure there's no damage to the streetcar, the Flash grabs the Snatcher, telling him that this is kind of embarrassing, but could you point me to the local police to drop you off? I'm not from around here. Please and thank you. A few moments later, Iris says that took longer than expected. Why not just vibrate through everyone? And Flash tells her because that would be rude, not to mention dangerous. What would happen if I ran into someone at the wrong frequency? Iris says to him, you promised that we would stay together on this Force quest. Now it's time to go check out this place. As the two of them walk up to an old building, Iris goes on stating that this church is one of the oldest structures in this location. Back when the Trickster attacked Central City Library, there was this book in the wreckage. It talked about a world traveler named Richard Amidi, who believed that there could have been signs of people with superpowers throughout history. Some of these powers sound like they could be the new forces. It can't be a coincidence, Barry. As the two walk up the stairs, Flash notices the door to Richard's office has been broken into. The two walk in and Flash says that they've both seen enough crime scenes to know that this was done by a professional. The ransack patterns tell them that there was more than one person searching for something very specific. Just then, two masked individuals jump down from the rafters and the woman says that she thinks these two aren't any danger, just a pair of young lovers just like them. The male lands stating, I doubt that they're just like us. Flash thinks to himself he can't change into costume right now without revealing that he is the Flash, so he asks who are they? The woman holds up a small statue stating that they're in search of souvenirs. You may call us Gemini. Iris then asks, did they do all of this for that statue? And the woman says that they would love to stay for proper introductions, but we really don't care. Au revoir. As the two jump out the window, Flash quickly changes into his costume and he runs down outside to try and stop them. As he catches up to them, he asks, you guys know that your masks are kind of creepy. Why don't you just tell me how important the statue really is? The male gets up swinging, but as Flash steps out of the way, he says, this really is unnecessary. We could just talk like adults. But as the woman holds up the statue, she tells him, this totem was crafted hundreds of years ago to worship the god Kratos. It represents strength and power, and now it belongs to me. That's when the male keeps Flash busy and the woman charges up her gauntlet, punching Flash into a wall with a loud boom. The woman yells that her skin feels so alive with power, her blood boils with strength. And the male kisses her, telling her, for heaven's sake, don't give it all to yourself. As Flash pulls himself out of the rubble, he thinks that he hasn't been hit that hard since the Trickster was infected with the Strength Force. But those two, they're not Strength Force users. Before the Flash could follow the masked duo, he realizes the wall that he was thrown into was a part of a church, and it's about to come down. He runs through, grabbing everyone before the debris can crush them, and even after saving everyone, he realizes he couldn't save the church. A short while later, down in the sewers, the two masked criminals take off their masks, and the woman, Belladonna, says that if she's being honest, she's a little turned on. Her lover, Santiago, tells her that he would have never thought that she'd enjoy skin-tight red pajamas. Belladonna goes on stating that the energy coming off of him, she needs it. They need it. With that kind of power, they can feel free forever. Will you go and get him, lover? Santiago smiles and says that he will chase the Flash down to the ends of the earth for her. Back topside, the Flash picks up Iris and begins to run, with her asking what are they going to do about the Gemini. Flash tells her that they're going to have to wait. The Speed Force is pulling him away from the city. They should have started here to begin with. As they stop, Iris looks around and asks, Gorilla City? You told me all about this place. I never thought I'd be able to see it. Flash then tells her there's a reason. It's hardly the safest place, even without Grodd. But from the looks of it, someone else must be hunting for the secrets of the Speed Force. But before them, scattered throughout the city, are the bodies of dead gorillas. The Flash begins to run around, examining the bodies, stating that these are all recent. But there's only one person who could have done this, Grodd. Iris asks, isn't he working with the Legion of Doom now? And Flash tells her, that's it. Taking you back to Central City. All of this is my fault. I told Solovar that I would return, but I ignored them in now this. Iris yells that he always lets his guilt get the better of him. Because of that, he always misses things that are right in front of his face, like the hidden passage over there, Barry. She takes out her phone to shine some light down the walkway, and so the two of them begin to walk down, finding a giant mural painted along the wall. Flash looks up and says that he remembers King Solovar telling him the legend of the light in the messenger. They've been studying the Speed Force for generations before the lightning in his lab had struck him. It's what Grodd used to create a Speed Force storm. There's just so much that he doesn't know. But just then, the sound of a low rumbling growl can be heard, and suddenly two giant gorillas burst out from the ground roaring. One yells, "Go away!" And as it attacks, the Flash picks up Iris and gets her out of harm's way. Flash shouts that he doesn't want to hurt them as he creates a wind tunnel to push them back. But as one is thrown into the wall, a mechanical eye pops out from one of the gorillas. Flash pauses for a second, stating, huh? Robot gorillas? Awesome. He starts running around the robots with Iris asking, honey, what are you doing? The Flash stops, holding up one of the gorillas' heads, stating that he just wanted to see what makes these things tick. He had no idea that the gorillas had this kind of technology, that they were this advanced. But it would mean that someone has to be controlling them. Just then a voice calls out, it was me. A group of gorilla scientists step out, telling him that they're sorry. They thought the killer had returned. Flash asks who are they, and the scientists state that they work in the labs below. They survived the attacks because the killer never saw them, though they didn't have a chance to see who it was that slaughtered their people. Come, there is much to be shown, Flash. The scientists lead the Flash down deeper into the tunnels, and they explain that King Solivar called him a friend, but he knew that there were some things that needed to remain with the gorilla people. Before Grodd killed King Solivar, he requested that they document their history and further advance the gorillas. Grodd never wanted to expand their knowledge beyond their walls. Flash asks, is that why Grodd killed everyone? And the scientists tell him that it wasn't Grodd. We did not see the one who was responsible, but we do know what they were after. As the scientists flip the switch, a flash of light shines and a familiar voice calls out, Grodd, if you are witnessing this, then you have finally found a better path. It is time for you to learn the truth of the Speed Force. Flash and Iris look up to the massive projection of King Solivar as he explains that there are 4 forces: speed, strength, sage, and still, each with its own avatar. It was their duty to keep the multiverse moving and progressing towards its destiny. Their people were blessed with the Sage Force, which is why they have the powers that they do. But not since their ancestor, the original Solivar, have they been able to reach their full potential as having an avatar of their own for the Sage Force. These avatars worked against the Dark Force from outside of the past, present, and future, in the midst of the greatest battle, the Forces. But before the projection could finish, it distorts and fades out. And the Flash asks, what happened to the rest? The scientists tell him that they don't know. They can give him as much data as they've gathered, but that's all they have. Iris looks at one of the terminals, stating, actually, hang on, I studied this tech in my past life. I can help you get what you need. And we have a tech-savvy friend who can process the force energy readings that you capture. Flash says, right, Commander Cold, you read me? Back in Central City, Commander Cold, an individual from the future who took the name Commander Cold and then became stranded in the past, fires his freeze gun at a group of bank robbers, yelling, yeah, I'm a little busy right now, Flash. Iris yells into the comm, stating, hey, we're in Gorilla City and we got some information. I just went ahead and emailed it. Cold tells her, yeah, I got it on the screen now. The satellites are showing a strength force signal coming from Corto Maltese, along with some police radio about some trouble. It sounds like a conflict is taking place. Cops in the streets dealing with some unstoppable, strong criminal. Flash quickly scoops up Iris, stating, we'll be back, I promise. And as he leaves, one of the scientists asks, why don't you tell them the whole truth? And another says that he isn't ready. Another voice tells them, I agree. Aren't secrets a pain? Santiago slashes through the scientist, stating that they're only interested in the Flash, but he just has to try a taste of talking monkey. Santiago holds up his gauntlet and begins to absorb the gorilla's mind. And another scientist yells that they were the ones who killed their brethren. Belladonna grabs him, telling him, sorry, but you'll have to point the finger at someone else. We just got here. But maybe if you tell us everything, we might spare you. Meanwhile, over at Corto Maltese, Flash arrives to find the police are fighting back against an unknown force. As the police van is thrown into a nearby building, the Flash rushes in, grabbing all of the officers, moving them out of the way. That's when there's a flash of green that lands behind him and knocks him down. He looks up to see a dark-skinned woman with dreads standing before him, telling him, Flash, welcome to Corto Maltese. My name is Fiorza. Fiorza jumps on the Flash, but while he dodges, Iris runs to the commanding officer on the scene, telling him that they need to call off their men. The officer tells her that he did not ask for the Flash's help. Masked vigilantes are nothing but trouble. You are not wanted in Corto Maltese. Fiorza swings again with the Flash, yelling, whoa, hang on a second, I just want to talk to you about the strength force. She punches him in the gut, throwing him to the side, and as she leaves herself open, the commanding officer tells his men to open fire. Flash gets up, starting to pick the bullets out of the air, shouting, what the hell? You could have killed innocents. The officer grabs Iris, pointing his gun at her head, stating, maybe we still will unless you get out of our city. Fiorza thrusts her arms into the ground, creating a shockwave, throwing everyone off balance, shouting, it is not your city! Fiorza tells Flash that it looks like they're on the same team. If you want my apology, then follow me. Flash yells for Iris as he runs through, picking her up and following Fiorza. As they leave, one officer shouts to the commanding officer Cauldron that this has gone on far too long. If you wish to maintain hold on your city, then you cannot continue this private little war with Fiorza. Cauldron takes his gun, shooting the man in the head. Then he grabs his phone, telling the person on the line that he was wrong. It appears that he does need to take them up on their offer. All of his toys are broken and they're going to need something bigger. Elsewhere, Flash arrives behind Fiorza and she says that she's sorry for punching him. She wasn't sure what side he was on. Their city has been taken over by a corrupt man named Cauldron. He brings weapons into the country illegally, and she was destroying one of his shipments. Flash says, look, I know we've never met before, but you're gonna have to trust me when I state, I come in peace. She folds her arms, telling him that she knows who he is. But why should she trust him? Flash takes off his mask, telling her, my name is Barry Allen, and I can sense a force connection, and I know I can trust you. I need to learn as much as I can about the strength force. She begins to walk off, stating that she appreciates the gesture, but his name means nothing to her. He can go home. Flash says, look, I know what you're feeling. Everything is so confusing and lonely. You got your powers a few weeks ago, right? Something grabbed you from under the ground? She stops. How did you know? I was just going about my day when something took and buried me alive. When I emerged, I felt all this strength. It was a gift. Flash puts his mask back on, telling her, those powers came from something called the Strength Force. Long ago, there were 4 avatars of the forces who protected space and time. For me to understand these new forces, I need to connect with the Speed Force like I've never done before. And the key lies somewhere with these new forces. So maybe if I could, but she stops him, lifting up a giant boulder, asking, me? I'm not sure. I've already got a lot on my plate here. Flash and Iris follow Fiorza and they look around at the people growing crops, asking, did you make this community inside of the mountain? She tells them yes with her bare hands. She's helping the people of Corto Maltese to build a better life, away from Cauldron. Her real name is Alexa Antigon, but you can still call her Fiorza. These people will always be her priority. Why should she take time to help them instead of these people? Flash holds out his hand, stating that the powers that she received felt like a gift, right? Wouldn't you want to share that? She laughs. Okay, but you're going to learn my way. A short while later, she takes Flash out to show her power by lifting a tank, and she explains that her body shifts the strength force for what she needs. Normally, she's pretty invulnerable, but if she uses the strength force for things that are this heavy, she loses some of that. Flash asks how about the gravity aspect of the strength force. She says that she focuses her powers on the strength part, not the gravity. There's not much that a super strong punch won't fix. She just needs to be more in touch with the earth since that's where her powers are formed. Fiorza shows Flash what it means to help people. And while unloading the supplies, a young boy calls out to her, holding his bloody father. Fiorza grabs the man, asking what happened, and the boy says that Cauldron attacked them. He wanted to know where the hideout was. She sets the man down, clenching her fist, yelling, these people got hurt because of me. Cauldron will be stopped. I'll go down and demolish that police station. Flash stops her, telling her to hang on. She can't just attack recklessly. She could hurt someone. Fiorza tells him that he can't just hope things will get better. You have to make them. And with that, an explosion goes off on the mountainside. Before Fiorza can call out to her family, though, Flash grabs her and starts to run. Within seconds, he charges through, punching out the officers holding Iris and Fiorza's mother hostage, leaving Cauldron to Fiorza. She leaps up, yelling to him, and as he turns back, he holds out his arm, wielding a small cannon. A light blue mist forms from the barrel, and Cauldron says that he is ready this time. The cannon goes off, shooting bubbles that are filling the room. She stops, laughing. Bubbles? Really? But the Flash tells her that this is no laughing matter. He has seen those gauntlets before. The bubbles begin to stick to Fiorza, and as she tries to shake them off, the bubbles turn into little blue creatures with sharp teeth and long tongues. They jump at the Flash as he yells, the gun is powered by the Sage Force! More and more creatures begin to form a swarm around the two of them. With her punching through them, they just end up growing back. Cauldron then asks, do you like my new toy? I really didn't want it to come to this, but I had to get a bit creative. Fiorza shouts at the Flash, asking, how do you want to fight this? And the Flash tells her, we're gonna try it your way and keep punching, but not in the way you're thinking. If you were to use the gravity powers to draw them in while reforming, we might be able to use the Speed Force to accelerate the energy inside of them, causing them to burst. Fiorza says that she's not sure that she can, and the Flash yells, you said you felt one with the Earth, right? Search for that feeling again. She begins to concentrate, covering the reforming creatures in the gravity energy. And once they've all clumped together, the Flash launches a bolt of Speed Force with a crack-a-boom. As the smoke fades, the Flash tells her, look, we solved your little problem and Cauldron's men are already on the run. Now we just need to make sure Cauldron can't use the Sage Force gauntlet again. Fiorza tells Flash that she's already on it as she grabs Cauldron by the arm, crushing and ripping apart the gauntlet. She then grabs Cauldron by the throat, telling him that he will never hurt her country or her family again. As she pulls her arm back to swing, the Flash yells, no! And he runs through, grabbing Cauldron from her, telling her that that is not the answer. She looks back, yelling that he doesn't know that nothing will stop me. She begins to grow in size, the same as the Trickster when he lost control of his strength force, turning into a mindless brute. She's punching the wall, shouting that she will bury them alive. The Flash dodges the falling rocks, but Fiorza charges into him, smacking him into a wall. The Flash then starts to focus his frequency to build up another Speed Force charge, and just as Fiorza gets close, he shocks and stuns her. He tells her that she was a great teacher, but he cannot allow her to be consumed by her anger. She was about to step over the line that she could never return from. She begins to get back up, yelling that she doesn't care what he thinks, but her mother runs in telling her to stop this. This isn't you. You don't break, you build. A short while later, as Argus arrives to take Cauldron away, Flash tells Fiorza that they won't be worrying about him for a while. Iris then says they still need to figure out who the Sage Force user is, maybe with the broken gauntlet they can. After reaching out to Commander Cold again, Flash and Iris find another signal coming from Zandia, a place where some of the worst supervillains go for R&R. Cold radios in stating that they need to be careful. If the Sage Force really is there, chances are they're a criminal. A little while later, they both head into the city with Iris asking if he's ready. Flash looks at himself wearing a Black Hawk uniform, stating that this'll never work. This isn't my style. She tells him that because it's not his style, it's the perfect disguise. As the two of them walk out, she asks, how's the signal? Flash says that he can feel the Sage Force getting stronger. It matches what he felt when Heatwave was possessed by it. Just then, a voice calls out that he doesn't like being followed. Flash and Iris turn around to see themselves surrounded by all of the criminals on the island. And a man that can read their thoughts says that their worst fear is being caught by the Flash. Wait, you're the Flash? Holy crap. Man, this is why you're looking for me? Because I have the Sage Force? Dude! The man takes off his helmet, shaking the flashes as the villains disappear, stating, I am such a huge fan. Once they got to the secluded rooftop in the supervillain safe haven known as Zandia, the Sage Force user explains to Flash that there are a few things that he needs to go over before they begin. The person that they're targeting is a woman named Roulette. She is a games master and a criminal kingpin of the city, and one of the most deadliest people in the world. And just as anyone who would hear her name would assume, she runs illegal casinos all across the world. So why is he telling one of the greatest heroes who ever lived this? Because he's an agent of Argus, and his mission is to shut down her empire. But he has a question. Why is the Flash wearing a getup like that? The Flash begins his side of the story. A few months ago, 3 new forces were introduced into the world, one of them being the Sage Force, which Psyche, right here in front of him, currently has. The man takes off his helmet, stating, that's a pretty cool name. Not sure how much help I can be, though. Iris tells him that they should probably start small, like his name and how he got his powers, because she's having a hard time thinking that Psyche is his real name. So he explains he's actually Bashir. As for his powers, well, it's gonna sound crazy, so he'll just go ahead and show them. Psyche holds out his hands, and soon Flash and Iris begin to see images of Psyche, and he tells them that he was having these terrifying nightmares when one night, boom, he ignited on fire. Argus was there to help him recover, and from there, they sent him on a mission to gather information on supervillains and report it back. There's been some things that he's not very proud of though, but he does what he does because he believes in justice. Argus chose him because he lived on the streets. He never knew his father or his mother, and she was killed here. Now that the Flash is here, maybe they can work together. Take out Roulette and learn about these new forces. The Flash tells him that the only problem with that is no one can know that the Flash was here. Iris stops him, asking, are you serious? We just met this guy. And the Flash says, Iris, it's the same thing that I felt when I was with Fiorza. There's a connection here that I feel with Psyche. Once we get him out of here, we'll go back to Central City and Commander Cold will have a look and figure all of this out. A short while later at Roulette's casino, Psyche points out that the psychic blocker that Roulette has protects its guests and says that they need to take that thing out. As the 3 move in, Psyche stops and tells Iris, actually, you should probably hang back. You're the only one without powers and it'd be much safer. She asks, really? And the Flash tells her, he's right. Let me scope out things first and we'll get back to you. She scoffs and a voice calls out to her stating that she isn't sure why they're hanging out with that creep. She looks back asking, excuse me? And the criminal Magpie says, psych, he's such a creepo. That's saying something when everyone in this place is on the shady side of things. Iris leans up against the bar asking Magpie to please tell her more. Up close by Roulette's seat, Psyche tells Flash that all they need to do is take down the blocker. Once he does that, they can. So Flash runs over to the blocker, disables it, and comes back asking, what's next? Psyche holds up his hand stating, haha, we're just getting started. Now I can really use my powers to make a big distraction. Flash asks what is he, but before he can finish, Psyche puts Flash back in his costume, shouting to everyone, look who it is, get him! The Flash starts taking out all of the lowly criminals, and King of the Royal Flush Gang yells, it's time for the Flash to fold. As Flash is forced to defend himself, Psyche sneaks up behind Roulette and using his powers begins to extract information on her entire operation. After a few moments, Psyche says, wow, you got a lot more going on than just these casinos. You are really bad. As Flash takes out the last member of the Royal Flush Gang, Psyche runs out from the back yelling, best plan ever, let's. But before he could finish, Flash runs through, grabbing both him and Iris, dropping them off on the roof, asking, what the hell was that? You knew me being here could cause an international incident. My cover was blown. Psyche says, don't worry. Who are they gonna call? They're all criminals. Once I call Argus, this whole thing will be cleaned up. And Iris stops him. No, it won't. You're lying. You don't work for Argus. You're just some kid who uses his powers to steal information on supervillains and then you blackmail them for money. The whole thing about your parents was a lie. Psych asks, oh yeah, well, that's my cover. Me and Flash have a bond now. You're the one who's lying. Flash tells him that even if he hadn't pulled that stunt back there, he'd believe Iris. I don't need mind-reading powers to know when she's telling the truth. Psych sighs. You're right. You know best. You can go ahead and take me to supervillain jail. Flash reaches out telling him, I don't know about. But before he could finish, Psych yells, Psych! And he starts to use his powers to destroy Flash and Iris's minds. They fall to the ground, screaming in pain as Psych puts on his helmet telling them, I knew you were coming here. There are people who would pay a lot of money for you, so I made a deal. Just then Santiago and Belladonna step out stating, Hi Flash. Ever since we met back in Botanicia, we just had to see you again. Flash begins to get up, telling them leave Iris out of this, and Belladonna says, oh, I wouldn't be too worried about your gal pal. You have something that we've been looking for. Santiago goes on and says, actually, we're much older than we appear. Back in the 40s, we were on the hunt for immortality. All of our search led us to a lab where we learned to drain cosmic energy. That energy is the forces that you seek. Absorbing the forces brings immortality, and we could only siphon so much with the scraps that we had. Then we met and learned that you had the Speed Force. Well, we couldn't pass that up, Flash. With what we know about these forces, we could live forever together. Psych tells him, cool story, bro. But if you really could just give me my money now? Belladonna grabs Psych by the head asking, did you really think that we would steal Flash's powers and not yours? Santiago reaches for the Flash, and while both him and Psych are having their powers drained, Santiago yells, this is your end! As the two begin to absorb the forces of Sage and Speed, Iris gets up calling out to Flash, tackling into Santiago. Belladonna calls out to Santiago, asking if he's okay, but as he springs back up, he runs with the Flash's speed, stating, actually, I've never felt better. He speeds up, grabbing Iris by the throat, hanging her off the ledge of the roof, telling her, it doesn't matter, we've got their powers. But before he could let her go, the Flash gets back on his feet, helps Psych up, stating, we may be a little weak, but we're gonna have to work together to get through this. Psych shakes off the dizziness and rushes in with the Flash, and as the two of them get close, they combine both the Speed Force and the Sage Force to knock Gemini away. Santiago and Belladonna deflect the attack, with Santiago telling Belladonna, looks like we're going to have to do the same. Psyche gets up, getting ready to attack again, but the Flash tells him, wait, let them share their powers. Santiago and Belladonna get ready to kiss, and as their faces get close, there's a loud crack-a-coom, and the two are blown away. Iris gets up asking, what just happened? And the Flash tells her, it was that way when Heatwave was infused with both forces and nearly killed him. Psyche throws his helmet, shouting, no! They tried to kill me. He runs over, grabbing Santiago, asking, you really want to see how far I can push the Sage Force? Let's find out together. Die! He begins to release all of the Sage Force's power directly into Santiago's head. Belladonna screams for him to stop. The Flash rushes in, throwing Psyche off, asking, what did you just do? And Psyche yells, I turned out his lights. Flash lets go, stating, you can't use your powers like that ever. But Psyche knocks his hand away, asking, what do you know about our powers? Turns out, while I was in Santiago's head, Santiago knows more about the forces than we could ever imagine. Flash then asks, what do you mean? And Psyche yells, let me show you! Flash then begins to see the images of the Force avatars, and he hears Psyche's voice telling him, the four forces did not work together to save the multiverse. Their destiny has always been to be at war, until one of them could finally control the Forever Force. The other forces didn't disappear. The Speed Force avatar banished them. All four can't be free. One must win control, and for one force to live, the other three must die. So whatever you were told about the four working together was a lie. If you want to keep your Speed Force, you're gonna have to fight for it. With another loud crack-a-coom, the Flash and Iris are stunned. Flash stops, stating that he showed him about the new forces and what they really are. So how did Gemini know so much about them? A short while later, in Arkham, after Belladonna is booked, Flash goes to her cell, stating that he's sorry about her husband, but they need to. She stops him, asking, what are you talking about? Santiago's right here, he's here with me! I saved him. Can't you see? We're going to escape and steal all the forces together. Your monkey friends told me everything. Flash thinks about it for a moment, and he picks up Iris and he runs to Gorilla City. When they get there, they find it in ruins. The Flash checks around, not finding anyone, but as a fire is lit, one of the Gorilla scientists walks out. The Flash runs over, asking what happened, and the scientist looks back, stating, two thieves that wished for eternal life. They killed all my brothers. They let me live if I told them the truth about the forces. Flash says, it's true then. The four forces never worked together. And the scientist tells him, "We hoped that you could bring a change to that. A hero of hope such as yourself could put an end to the war. Solovar's records show that the last war nearly tore the multiverse apart. But that isn't all we hide." Flash takes the tablet, and as he reads it, he says, "I messed up. I had hoped this person was lost in hypertime, but Hunter Zolomon is back. He's the one who killed everyone in Gorilla City." Flash picks up Iris and begins to run, but before Iris could ask where they're going, she's set down in front of their house. Flash takes off trying to process everything, but instead of looking for Zolomon or anything like that, he thinks back to something Booster Gold had said. He was talking about Sanctuary and acting really weird, and then he mentioned something under his breath. Wally. The Flash hurries over to Sanctuary, and as he opens the door, he finds Wally's lifeless body. If you want to know more about that, we're going to be covering Heroes in Crisis soon, and then the Flash's reaction. Okay, so at this point, the comic books took about 10 to 12 issues to completely explain everything that's going on, but they didn't introduce the Still Force yet, the new user of the Still Force after the Turtle. So what they did was they introduced him very briefly while doing an entire different arc. We're going to skip over the brand new origin of the Flash and just show you the Still Force introduction and the Still Force outro before we get to the finale of this. So here's a quick intersection in the middle of our full story. With the city returning to normal, Flash found a man in his office named Steadfast who controlled the Still Force. Flash questioned why he was there, but Steadfast told him that he needed to remember something that he had forgotten, and it brought him back to the year that he became the Flash. Back in our present storyline, where Barry was back in time trying to learn what he could about the Still Force, he gasps and he asks, "What was that? My first year? What happened to..." Steadfast stops him, telling him, "I showed you the past, your true past. Time on this world has been manipulated." Barry asks, "Who are you?" And Steadfast pulls down his hood, telling him, "My name is Steadfast, the new avatar of the Still Force. Allow me to give you a glimpse into your own past, so that you may understand why I have shown you these visions. Forever, I chose a life of solitude, until the force barrier was broken, and I was cursed with the Still Force, and the knowledge of time that comes with it. In the past, the Still Force was used for selfish gains, but now it is my life's mission to change that. Now, do you trust me, Barry Allen?" Barry kneels down before him, telling him, "Yeah." Steadfast sits with him and tells him about the new forces. How the Strength, the Sage, and the Still Force are connected to the Speed Force, and the role in which Barry is to play in the future. And when they were done, he went to work. Alright, now you know who that is. It's time for them all to come together for the finale. And well, the Speed Force is about to kick back. Everyone has heard the line that just before you die, your entire life flashes before your eyes. But for the Flash, he was given an opportunity to relive a very important year of his life. A time where he lost, but found hope. And right now, in Central City, Kid Flash and Avery could use a little hope, as Tar Pit and Girder wear the two young heroes down. Everything that they throw at the bad guys just seems to bounce off, but as Tar Pit comes to the end of the fight, there's a red flash that speeds by. As Tar Pit slams his fist into the ground, Flash picks up Kid Flash and Avery, telling them, "I thought the rogues were smart enough to skip town, but not the mighty Tar Pit and Girder, huh?" Kid Flash shouts to Flash, asking, "Where have you been? You can't just roll in and steal our thunder." And the Flash tells him, "You know, I was just lending a helping hand. These two are all yours, but I will remind you that hot tar doesn't react well with metal." Kid Flash begins to use his powers to push Tar Pit back, telling him, "You might not have said it. This is another one of your Flash facts, isn't it?" And Avery runs up to the other side of Girder, telling Kid Flash, "Hey, we don't have time to debate. How about we see what happens when Tar Pit and Girder hit each other?" Avery positions herself, pushing Girder into Tar Pit, and as the two begin to touch, they begin to fuse into each other. Girder begins to shout that the tar is burning him, and Tar Pit yells that the metal doesn't feel real good either. Then as the two stop struggling, Flash asks, "Do you promise to behave yourselves?" And they both shout, "Yes, fine, whatever, just do something already." So as the police arrive, Flash says that Star Labs has the right tool to separate Tar Pit and Girder. They'll be fine. Kid Flash then says that that's nice. "Well, see ya." And Flash stops him, going, "Whoa, whoa, whoa, whoa. Hang on a second. There's something I need to show you." Kid Flash asks, "Why would I follow you anywhere? You betrayed us all." And Avery says, "Yeah, why should we? Last time I checked, when there was a family feud, you just up and left us." Flash tells him, yeah, and I'm here to correct that. This is about more than my past mistakes." Kid Flash then says that he'll need more than a smile and words to show that he's changed. And he'd better not be doing this so that Iris will talk to him again. Flash pauses and tells him, "No, not at all. Me and Iris will talk when we're both ready. Just come with me and I can show you just how hard I've been trying. How about it? So Flash takes off with Kid Flash and Avery following close behind. And as the two stop in front of a large building, Avery looks up asking, "You rebuilt it?" Flash tells her yes. The Flash Museum is back up and running, with a few changes. The three head back inside and Flash tells them, "It felt like something was missing. Something that we needed as a team. And this, well, this is it." Kid Flash asks, "We needed a painting? That's it? You brought me here for that?" Flash vibrates his arm through the portrait, telling him, "Yes, but just wait. It's what's on the other side." Flash disappears through the wall and Avery asks, "Are you buying it?" So Kid Flash sighs. This better be good. Once they go through the painting and vibrate through the wall, Kid Flash looks at the giant lab and asks, "You made a bat cave?" Commander Cold, an alternate version of Captain Cold from the future, tells him, "Actually, it's a speed lab. It uses my future tech to trap down escaped rogues, follow Trickster's plans, and keep an eye on new Force users and more. Whatever we need to protect Central City and beyond." Kid Flash says that it feels a lot like an absentee dad showing up with a new toy, thinking that all will be forgiven. "We have a lot of questions, Barry. And for starters, what's the deal with the guy in the robe giving me weird vibes?" Flash explains that this is Steadfast, the still Force user. He's been helping Barry understand the new forces that have been unleashed and that are affecting the world. But not only that, there's not going to be any more lies between us, Wallace. Whatever questions you have, I'll answer them all. Kid Flash then asks, "Do you think you can handle my questions?" And Flash takes off his mask, telling him, "Go ahead, fire away." Meanwhile, over in Barcelona, a man runs through the streets as the police finally corner him inside of a local pizzeria. One officer draws his gun while the other tells him to be careful. He ripped the gas line out of the wall. The first officer says it'll be fine, he doesn't have his flamethrower. "Do you, Heatwave?" But Heatwave holds up a match, telling him, "Don't need it." Then he strikes it. The entire building explodes, and more officers rush to the scene and begin to surround Heatwave, telling him to freeze. But that's when another voice asks, "Isn't that supposed to be my line?" Suddenly, a blast of cold air begins to freeze the officers in place, and Heatwave asks, "Did you get your powers back, Cold?" And Captain Cold tells him, "Nah, my time behind bars in Belle Reve inspired me to upgrade my tech." As Heatwave takes the flamethrower from him, he asks, "Where did this beauty come from?" Captain Cold tells him, "Lex Luthor gave me the resources to up my game and made me an offer I can't refuse. But if this is too much..." Heatwave laughs, turning the flamethrower on. "You can save it. Whatever it is, I'm all in. But what's next?" Captain Cold starts freezing the police cars, asking, "What do you think? We're getting the gang back together." Back at the speed lab, Kid Flash asks, "What do you mean we're all getting slower?" Flash explains that the force barrier fell, and the Sage, the Still, and the Strength forces were freed. Things for Speed Force users have been getting worse with every step that they take. Kid Flash thinks back to when he did think that something was off. Fighting Tar Pit has never been that hard before. But what's wrong with the Speed Force? Steadfast answers him, "The Speed Force is dying. The new forces were never meant to be freed. Their very existence hurts the Speed Force." And Kid Flash yells, "We can't lose our powers! It's like the worst time for that! The rogues are on the run!" Flash tells him, "Yeah, and so is Hunter Zolomon. He's out there as well now. There are more dangers in the world than ever before, and we need to operate smarter. It's time we ran again, as a family, Wallace. It won't be easy, but believe in me. What do you think?" The Flash waits for his answer, and that's when he feels that something is wrong. The Speed Force may be getting weaker, but he's still the fastest person in the room. And then it hits him. He can feel it before he can see it. The Black Flash! The Black Flash is faster than anything he's ever encountered before, and normally he'd use science or make use of his powers in a clever way, but right now there's no time. Flash punches the Black Flash into the computers, and Kid Flash asks, "What the hell is that?" Commander Cole tells him, "That is death. In the future, it's written that the Black Flash would appear whenever it's a speedster's time to become one with the Speed Force." Flash readies himself, telling him, "That means that one of us is gonna die, and as long as I'm here, it's not taking..." But the Black Flash runs past the group, with Kid Flash shouting, "Barry, it's not after us!" Black Flash grabs Steadfast by the throat, shouting, "New forces must die!" As Black Flash pins Steadfast down to absorb his strength, Flash rushes over, shouting, "No one is dying today!" He quickly snatches Steadfast, asking, "Why aren't you using the Still Force to fight back?" And Steadfast tells him, "Because the Black Flash can use our forces against us. The more we use them, the easier it'll be for him to track us." Flash then yells to the others, "All right, I have a plan. Crisscross formation on Kid Flash's mark." Soon the three speedsters begin running in different directions, handing Steadfast to one another until the Black Flash screams, "Die!" creating a vortex, knocking Kid Flash and Avery to the ground. He sees Steadfast on the ground and he grabs the robes and the head of a mannequin rolls out. The Black Flash begins to panic, looking around for someone, and when he finds no one, he screams, vibrating out of existence. Up ahead, Steadfast tells Flash, "Alright, you were lucky. Imbuing my cloak with the Still Force aura worked. I can no longer feel the Black Flash pursuing us." Flash asks him, "How long though? If it's hunting the new Force users by their powers, what are you supposed to do? Not use them?" Commander Cold radios in. "Well, I did a scan and it seems the Black Flash is gone. The only information we have in the future on this guy is that he's trying to protect the Speed Force. It would appear that the Black Flash is acting as some sort of antibody. It's trying to save the Speed Force by killing off the other Force users." Flash tells Commander Cold to keep searching. They might not be seeing the Black Flash because it went for another target. So Kid Flash and Avery run back to the Speed Lab asking what can they do to help. An alarm goes off and Commander Cold tells them that ever since Trickster destroyed the Iron Heights, he's been monitoring police feeds and scanning for any mentions of escaped inmates. If they want to help, they can round up all of the escapees while Flash deals with the Black Flash. Meanwhile, over at Corto Maltese, Shark bites down on the Strength Force user's arm, Fiorza, asking, "Would you like to be Mrs. Shark?" Fiorza says, "It's a shame, really. I've been working so hard on my anger management issues. My therapist is really going to be disappointed." As she widens up Shark's mouth, he tries to ask what she is doing and there's a loud crack. And he mumbles, "My God, blah, 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 blah." Fiorza then throws Shark into the sea, telling him, "I hope you like drinking through a straw." "Now, Flash, what do you want?" Flash stops, telling her, "We don't have to talk here, but we do have to go." Fiorza asks why would she go anywhere with someone that she doesn't trust. Steadfast walks up, telling her, "Flash is correct. We're all in danger. The forces that we each control have always been at war, and with war comes death. Death will not rest until all of the forces are destroyed." As Steadfast energy radiates, Fiorza tells him that she believes him. It's like her strength force is reaching out to him. "Fine, where do you want to go now?" Flash tells her that they have to go to Zandia and find Psyche. So a short while later at Zandia, Psyche scales a building and watches as a group of men ask what a foreign dignitary is doing in a corrupt city like this. Let's have a look at, but that's when a red Flash zooms by and Psyche shouts, "Damn it, Flash! You can't just pick up a guy like that!" Soon, Flash stops running, setting Psyche down, telling him, "Meet Fiorza and Steadfast. They're Force users like you, and you're all in great..." But Psyche stops him, telling him, "Hey, how about we just cut to the chase, man?" He uses the Sage Force to read the Flash's mind, and when he sees the Black Flash, he shouts, "Holy crap! What the hell is a Black Flash?" Fiorza sees the projection, asking, "Is that what's chasing us?" And Flash tells everyone, "All right, stay calm. We can work together and..." But Psyche stops him. "Hell no, you're lying. You have no idea how to stop this monster. It won't stop until we're all dead. As long as we don't use our powers, it can't follow us. And that ain't happening. Come here, Steadfast." Psyche stares into Steadfast's eyes, and as he lets go, Steadfast begins to attack Flash and Fiorza under Psyche's command. Psyche then begins to run, shouting, "Hope you don't mind having Steadfast use as bait. Enjoy the fight, suckers." Steadfast turns and begins to blast Flash and Fiorza with the Still Force. And Flash yells, "You're gonna get us all killed!" And Psyche stops, asking, "Really? You saw that thing, right? That Black Flash wants to kill us all to save the Speed Force." While Flash dodges Steadfast's attacks, he tells Psyche, "I don't want to do this. We can stop the Black Flash, but we have to work together." But Fiorza punches the ground, knocking Psyche over, telling him, "Just cut the positive act. If the Black Flash wants to kill this dummy, he's gonna have to get in line." While those two begin to fight, Flash charges at Steadfast, telling him, "I hope this works. When I relived my past battles with Turtle, I learned that the Speed Force and the Still Force are connected." As Steadfast slows Flash down, Flash transfers his speed energy into Steadfast's blast and sends it back, shocking Steadfast back to his senses. He begins to fall over, and Flash catches him, telling him, "I'm sorry about that. Gave me a bit of speed to help you snap out of it." And Steadfast tells him, "You shouldn't be the one apologizing. I abhor violence, and regardless of our opposite forces, I would never willingly attack you." As Flash helps Steadfast up, Fiorza climbs over a rock, asking, "Are you done yet? Psyche ditched us." Steadfast then says that he's trying to look for Psyche's force, but it seems to have disappeared. He may be using his powers to mask his presence from everyone. And Flash says that if he's using the Sage Force, then that's going to put a bullseye on his back for that Black Flash. If he keeps using his mind control powers, he's a dead man. Later, back at the Speed Lab, Commander Cole tells everyone that it's just as he thought. After some testing, each of the forces are in a chaotic state. They shouldn't all be on Earth at the same time. The Black Flash is a defense manifestation of the Speed Force itself, not a user. It's dying and it's giving off the same signature as the Flash. The Flash asks if that's so, then he should be able to track the Black Flash when he appears, right? And Commander Cole tells him that is correct. Flash thinks for a moment and then says, I've made up my mind. Effective immediately, Steadfast and Fiorza, you cannot use your powers. Fiorza shouts, no way! The strength force will stop the Black Flash dead in its tracks. Commander Cole says that that's the thing. You can't. In the Flash archives, there are few details other than the fact that every Flash has encountered this thing at least once. And sure, you might be able to hold it off a little bit, but in the end, nothing can stop it. Flash sighs, stating, we gotta find a way. And Commander Cole tells him, I know all about this hope and optimism thing that's going on, but a smile's not gonna save the day here, Flash. This is death incarnate. Flash gets up to tell him, I'm not gonna fight it. I'm gonna outrace it. If the Speed Force dies, the Black Flash will die as well. So he walks off with Steadfast telling him that if that's the case, there will be no more Flashes. And Flash tells him, no, you'll be alive. No one is dying because of the Speed Force. No one. I'm gonna go find Psych. Fiorza reaches out telling them, hey, this is our fight too. We're coming with you, Flash. But at that moment, Commander Cole freezes both Fiorza and Steadfast, telling them, sorry, but Flash is right. You'll thank me later. Flash looks back at Commander Cole, tells him, those are power dampening restraints, one of my favorite tools in dealing with the Reverse Flash. Flash asks him, how long is it gonna hold? And Commander Cole tells him, an hour maybe? After that, Fiorza's gonna snap it like a twig. You might want to figure out what's gonna happen before then. But before he could finish, an alarm goes off and Commander Cole yells, there's a spike in Speed Force energy, it's a Black Flash! Seconds later, over in Scotland, Psych stands on top of a moving train telling him, I just gotta keep moving. I can live on this train for years. And as Flash runs, he can feel the Black Flash getting closer and closer, and then run past him. As Psych is crawling down into one of the cars, the lights go out, and then back on again, and he can sense it. And he says, I can sense you. What kind of trick are you? Oh my God, no! Flash jumps onto the train car, and as he heads inside, the Black Flash is draining the Sage energy until Psych is no more. At the speed lab located at the Flash Museum, Fiorza shouts they are to be released at once, since Commander Cold has them pinned down there. He pulls out his gun, telling them that those restraints are for their own good. They're to keep them safe from the Black Flash. If they use their powers, he'll find them. Fiorza begins to struggle as she flexes her muscles, breaking the restraints, asking, who's gonna keep you safe once I'm free? Where is the Flash? Just then a red blur stops and separates the two of them as the Flash tells them, I'm here. And I was too late. Everyone stops to look at the body of Psych in his arms, and Fiorza says that there's no way that is really him. This has to be one of his illusions. Psych's death is on you, Flash. You should have let us come. As Fiorza gets ready to swing, the Flash creates a vortex, knocking her down, shouting, okay, that is enough! There is still a chance to defeat the Black Flash. Fiorza slowly gets up, telling him that she thought the Speed Force was getting slower, and Commander Cold tells her that it is, or at least it was. Scans show that the Speed Force is actually getting stronger now. Flash then tells them, it is. I felt it get stronger once Psych died. After getting Psych up onto the examination table, the Flash asks if the Sage Force is really dead. Commander Cold looks through the readings, and then he turns back, telling him, not quite. The Sage Force was burned out of Psych, but it's more like the Black Flash uncoupled it and destroyed its connection to the Speed Force. Currently, there are no traces of the Black Flash, which means it's probably retreated inside of the Speed Force, waiting for the next opportunity to strike a Force user. Flash then turns to Fiorza, telling her that they're just gonna have to beat the Black Flash. That if they're going to beat the Black Flash, they have to understand why the new forces are killing the Speed Force. If they work together, if they share their knowledge of the forces, maybe they can beat this thing. Fiorza smiles, telling him that he's always so optimistic. They want to learn about the Strength Force? Then they could talk about it all day inside the Strength Force. She punches the ground with a loud crack-a-boom, and the Flash shouts, asking, what was that? She laughs, telling him, you're not the only one that can summon portals. Commander Cole tells him that he's going in. His tech should be able to scan for any clue of what they find inside. Flash tells him they need to hurry. A show of power like that is going to attract the Black Flash. And as Commander Cold enters the portal, Fiorza stops, looking back, telling them that she knows that she called them naive in the past, but she's putting her faith in the Flash's optimism right now. Once Fiorza disappears, Steadfast turns to the Flash. You know that there's nothing to study inside of there. You just wanted to hide us because it's unlikely that we're gonna make it out of this alive. Flash slaps on his cowl, telling them, no one else is dying. No one, Steadfast. The Black Flash is a part of the Speed Force, and it's possible that the Black Flash is using me to find the new Force users. Whatever the case, you cannot use your powers. Just as Flash and Steadfast phase out of the museum, the Flash looks over to see Iris standing there staring right back at him. Flash tries to find the words to say something, but Iris holds out her hand to Steadfast, telling her that her name is Iris West. Flash pulls Iris aside, telling her that he's happy to see her, but this really is not a good time. Iris asks, "It always isn't a good time for you, huh? Kid Flash has been captured by the Rogues with Avery, right? The Flash Museum was rebuilt, so I figured that you were working together again. I just wanted to check in on you. Kid Flash has been capturing the Rogues with Avery, right? The Flash Museum was rebuilt, so I figured that you were working together again. I just wanted to check in on Kid Flash. But there's something else that I wanted to talk about, and you can't wait. We need to talk about Wally." Flash tries pushing himself to talk, but he tells her that he can't talk about Wally. Iris takes his hands, asking, "You can't, or you won't? You keep ignoring it. What happened back at Sanctuary, where Wally killed everyone? It was horrible. Wally might still need our help. My memories are a mess. There's Wallace and there's Wally, but maybe we can." Steadfast begins to use the still force, telling her that he can help. He can help her relive the true memories, just as he did with the Flash. And Flash yells, "No! You can't use your powers, Steadfast!" Steadfast stops, telling him, "I'm sorry." And Iris asks, "Wait, what are you talking about, my true memories?" The Flash begins to tell her that he'll explain later, but before he can even finish the sentence, he feels a presence running towards them. Flash spins back, yelling to Steadfast, "You got to!" But before he can even finish that, Hunter Zolomon runs up, telling him, "Long time no see! Were you expecting someone else?" Flash begins to create another vortex, but Hunter laughs, telling him, "You're a hard person to follow. But if there's one thing that being an FBI profiler has taught me, it's not to watch the person of interest, it's to watch their families." Hunter easily moves out of the Flash's attack range and grabs Steadfast by the neck. Flash begins to shout, "Stop! You don't understand what you're about to do!" But Hunter snaps his fingers, creating a giant explosion, telling him, "It's tragic how far you'd let the Flash name fall. But for now, I'm just gonna take the Still Force user off your hands." As Hunter speeds off, Flash hardly has a chance to catch up when suddenly, the Black Flash begins to run behind them. But instead of going past, the Black Flash slams Flash against the wall, asking, "Where is Still Force?" Flash doesn't answer, and the Black Flash throws him into the computers, telling him, "Stay out of my way." Meanwhile, elsewhere, Steadfast hears the slightly distorted voice of Hunter asking, "Why did you not struggle? Why did you not defend yourself?" Steadfast looks up with a black eye, telling him, "It is not my way. I've seen the horrors of war. I know what happens when one rushes into action without thinking." Hunter stops vibrating, telling him, "We have so much in common. We both know about suffering, but what if I could make it all go away? What if I could use your powers of the Still Force to fight back?" Steadfast tells him, "You must understand, if you possess the Still Force, the Black Flash will come for you, Hunter." Hunter tells him, "I know, and I'm counting on it." Back with the Flash, he runs holding Iris, and she asks why he didn't just say that the Speed Force is dying. Did he not want to worry her? Flash says that he doesn't know all the facts, and some of that is not to worry her, yes. But also, it's not like they've been talking much. Iris tells him, "Trust her. After all of this, there's going to be a long, hard talk. Hunter's done a lot of messing things up for our families, but we can't let the Black Flash kill him." Flash tells her that she's right. That's why they're going to find out where Hunter went. Argus has a list of all of Hunter's files, but they're confidential, making them hard to access. Since Argus was destroyed, the ruins were transported to a different location, one with a lot less security. Flash suddenly stops in an unmarked warehouse filled with boxes, telling her that every shred of evidence is in this room. He begins to pull all of the files listed for Hunter Zolomon, and he begins to read them all. Hunter graduated at the top of his class and became an FBI profiler so that he could track down killers like his father. He met his wife Ashley at the academy, and his father became his mentor. Hunter was on the fast track to becoming one of the best profilers in the country, until he encountered the Clown, a notorious serial killer. Hunter thought that he had the perp's profile down, but he was certain that guns were not the Clown's MO. But Hunter was wrong. It ruined his whole life and sent him on a path to darkness. However, the issue is the gun used to kill Hunter's mentor had 2 sets of fingerprints on it. One belonged to the Clown, and the second couldn't be identified at the time. If we were to run those fingerprints through the Justice League's database, then maybe. As the computer scans and it pings, the Flash and Iris stare at the screen, and Flash says, "If this is correct, we have to find Hunter now." Back with Hunter at the abandoned house where his mentor was killed, he shouts, "This is where it happened. This is when my life was taken from me and no one was there to help me fix it. It was a different timeline than this one, yes, but we can both feel it, right? Death? No matter what is done, death always comes. What if I had the Still Force powers? Would I be able to change that? Steadfast tells him that he will never allow him to have the Still Force. So Hunter punches Steadfast into the wall and begins to beat into him, asking, "What if I rip it from your core?" But before Hunter can land another punch, the Flash punches him, yelling, "I won't let this continue." The two barrel out of the house with Hunter telling him, "You should want me to win! Especially since last time we went head-to-head, you didn't exactly win, Flash. The Strength Force is making me stronger. The Sage Force makes me smarter, and I'm already faster than you." Hunter stops hitting Flash and wraps his arm around the Flash's neck, asking, "Is this how Eobard Thawne did it all those timelines ago? Ever wonder how that snap felt on your mother's neck?" As Hunter squeezes, Steadfast gets up shouting, "Stop! I will not allow this to continue." The Still Force stops the two of them, but Hunter smiles, telling him, "I knew this would draw you out of your shell." And he begins to slowly make his way towards Steadfast. Steadfast asks, "How are you resisting the Still Force so much?" And Hunter tells him, "I'm using every bit of Speed Force to do it. And now that I have felt the Still Force, we are connected. Which means those powers are up for the taking." Hunter grabs Steadfast by the arm and begins to drain the Still Force out of him. And then he tosses the body aside, telling him, "Thanks, kid." Flash rushes over to check on Steadfast, but Hunter grabs him by the leg and runs off, yelling, "Don't worry, Steadfast will be fine. But now that I have the Still Force, there's somewhere that I need to go." And as they come to a stop, Hunter yells, "This is it. Welcome to the Forever Force. It exists outside of space and time. Back when the cosmic treadmill exploded and gave me my powers, I got a small taste of this. The ability to manipulate time itself. I will be the greatest Flash that ever lived. No, the greatest Flash in the multiverse." Flash gets up telling him, "You can't do this. You can't change the past. The cost, it's too high, Hunter." And Hunter tells him, "Oh, you misunderstand. The pain of losing my wife hurts. But I gave up on changing that a long time ago." Flash stops for a moment and tells him, "You knew. You knew if you absorbed all the forces, the Black Flash would come for you." And Hunter tells him, "That's right. Every Flash has allowed death to take them. But what better way to prove that you're a hero than defeating death itself? No more suffering. No more pain. Come at me, death. I'm ready." And the Black Flash races at Hunter, lunging towards him. The Flash yells for him to look out and jumps in the way of the attack. Hunter spins around and begins to beat into the Black Flash, using all of the new forces to rip him apart. But Flash struggles to get back up, telling Hunter to stop. The problem is, Flash's voice cannot be heard as Black Flash extends his arm, grabbing Hunter by the head. As the forces are slowly being sucked out of Hunter, Flash gets up, releasing a concentrated Speed Force blast, knocking Black Flash away, freeing Hunter. Flash then holds out his arm to help Hunter up, telling him, "We've only got a few seconds." But Hunter smacks him away. "I am the one who will free the Flash family from death. This is my destiny. My father was a serial killer. The clown killed my mentor. All that death led to this." Flash points off into the distance, telling him, "No, look! The Forever Force that we are in. It can allow us to look through time. This was never your destiny, Hunter." Images begin to swirl, and Hunter sees one that stops before him. It shows the clown being handed the gun by Eobard Thawne. The real Reverse Flash orchestrated the death of Hunter's mentor, which caused Hunter to become the other Reverse Flash until now, when he's decided to become the ultimate Flash. Flash tells Hunter, "You were right. The clown didn't have a gun. Reverse Flash gave him the gun. Eobard manipulated your future to turn you into another Reverse Flash, and then into this, the keeper of all the forces." Hunter stumbles back, asking, "Why? Why would Eobard ruin both our lives?" And Flash tells him, "I don't know the answer to that. But when I was searching for you, I came across that gun." Hunter stands there staring at the image, but the Flash grabs him and begins to run, telling him, "Look, we gotta get out of here, Hunter. Unless we fix the force barrier, the Black Flash will continue to come after you. There's no way to do that unless we work together. Wally once said that you were a good man, one who went bad only because of the tragedies in your life, which we now discovered are orchestrated by the real Reverse Flash. But we can leave that in the past and move on." Hunter begins running, telling him, "I know how to fix this. How I can fix this, Barry. I have to sacrifice myself to repair the force barrier." Flash shouts, telling him, "Wait! There has to be another way. I won't let you die. And Black Flash slowly passes through Flash, and Hunter calls back that this is the only way he can fix this, and only he can do this himself, because he has all 4 forces. It has to be him. Find out why Eobard did this to us, Barry. The real reason. And tell Wally, I'm sorry. I wish that him and I could have stayed friends. Flash reaches out yelling, stop! And Hunter tells him, this is what Flashes do, right? We sacrifice ourselves to save the day. And with a thundering crack-a-cocoon, Hunter turns to white and he fades away. Flash stops and he looks around. He realizes that Hunter did it. The force barrier is fixed. The Black Flash runs around looking for him, but he can't find him, and he turns his focus to the Flash. The Flash tries to run to keep ahead, but his powers are fading from before. But with his powers fading from before, the Black Flash grabs him and he begins to shout, die! But as the Black Flash tries to steal the Flash's power, a shining light can be seen, and then lightning strikes with a loud crack! Outside the Flash Museum, Steadfast feels a chance in the air, and he asks if the Black Flash is gone. Iris grabs him, asking, what did you say? Where is Flash? So Steadfast looks up at the cloudy sky and he sees Perpetua looking down at him. He screams that there is something wrong. The past, the future, the very multiverse, it's all wrong. Iris helps Steadfast to his feet and gets him inside, but before Iris can even ask what's wrong, there's a massive explosion from outside, and the bodies of Kid Flash and Avery fly in. Steadfast shouts that this is the end. This is the end of everything. Iris runs over to Kid Flash and says that they were fighting them. Iris asks who, and that a shadow looms over and a voice tells her, we didn't believe, Luthor, about this whole Doom wins thing, but now I believe. Iris looks up to see Captain Cole with the rest of the original Rogues, the giant Doom symbol floating in the sky. And there you have it. If you like us doing this type of a full story, let me know in the comments down below. We wanted to try this out because honestly, with the TV show literally focusing on this, I thought it'd be a fun idea to grab all of the issues that were important to that plot line so that you could just kind of watch that and go, oh, that's what they were doing in the comic books. But if you don't like this, let me know in the comments down below, because this is kind of like when we did all of the evil Batman and the Dark Knight's universe. We're just trying to find different ways to bring you the full story that you're looking for. Let me know what you think about it in the comments down below, and if you're watching this after the end of the season, did it line up? Was it the exact same? Did they change it? Let me know that as well. Either way, guys, thank you so much for your continued support right here at the Comicstorian channel, and don't forget to check out the rest of our channel over the course of the week. Every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, we bring you various comic book videos right here at this channel, and we have various other channels. If you want to know my opinions on Flash storylines in the TV show, then check out Absolutely Marvel and DC, a channel that I started with Sal, where we talk about Flash and other CW shows, we talk about the Disney Plus shows, and everything going on, and I'd love to have you guys there. Thank you so much for your support, and I'll see you next time right here.